co-host.
I am Tom. We are here for our league challenge tonight at the Forge here in Chaska, Minnesota. 37 players here tonight, 18 masters, 10 seniors, and 9 juniors. So a great turnout here tonight. We're running a little bit behind here tonight.
Had some technical challenges.
A little technical challenges, but it's all good. We are here. We are ready to go, and we are looking at round one here. Our players, we have Austin on the bottom here playing the Gardevoir deck versus Thomas on the top playing that Chien-Pao deck. And they're a little bit of the ways into the game here. It looks like it is Thomas's turn now, but it looks like on his last turn, Austin used that Mirage Step Kirlia to get those extra Kirlias out of his deck and onto his bench. A great setup attack for this Gardevoir deck. And now we are over to the Chien-Pao player using that
Pokestop. Getting a cross switcher. Going to be unfortunately discarding a Chien-Pao and a Water Energy. Water Energy, not that big of a deal. You can get it back with several options in this deck.
Cross switcher, kind of nice to have in the situation. Obviously, we can't see much of what is in Thomas's hand, but if he can find that cross switcher canceling clone play on that Manaphy on this turn, that is a very powerful play for this Chien-Pao deck, and one of the reasons that it can be heavily favored into Gardevoir as long as it draws well.
Yeah, Gardevoir a little bit slow to get going. Sometimes you can get those Kirlias a little bit locked up before you get their draw power. Going Chien-Pao, taking advantage of that though, getting some energy in the discard pile, using concealed cards to see more cards, and then going to turn that Frigibax, so it looks like into a Baxcalibur with an Irida. Irida allowing you to get an item card, which I'm pretty sure is going to be a rare candy, and then get a water Pokemon, which is going to be the Baxcalibur, which is really the energy engine of the Chien-Pao decks.
That's what it looks like Thomas is eyeing up here off this Irida. And just as you said, John, that Baxcalibur and Rare Candy coming down onto the field. Rare Candy allowing Thomas to evolve that Frigibax straight into that Stage 2 Baxcalibur, skipping over the Stage 1 Arctibax.
Chien-Pao's attack, Chivalry Chill. Oh, excuse me. Is that Chivalry Chill? Ability is Chivalry Chill, allowing it to go into the deck and find some energy as well. Seen a lot of Toedscruels pop up online to help prevent that recycling from the discard pile, but probably not going to see that in this Gardevoir deck.
Yeah, we are still actually in the 151 meta here at this League Challenge. Paradox Rift is not legal until next weekend. So that Toedscruel, which is probably going to be a pretty impactful card for certain decks, you know, shutting down this Chien-Pao, shutting off Pokestop against things like Roaring Moon, but obviously not seeing that here tonight. Looks like Thomas is eyeing up a play here, trying to consider what he wants to do. Obviously, Chien-Pao would like to see a much more developed board state this far into the game.
Just one Chien-Pao is tough.
One Chien-Pao, only one Baxcalibur, so if that gets targeted down, that's very tough. No Bibarels out yet, and this deck really likes to see 2 Bibarels already out. So it looks like Thomas had quite a slow start, which is really not good against Gardevoir, given that Gardevoir takes a little bit of time to get going. So if you can get that quick start and get ahead,
you got 2 or 3 turns before Gardevoir is doing Gardevoir stuff.
Exactly. But it looks like, you know, I would probably give the advantage here to Austin on that Gardevoir deck here. Has a very developed board state, probably has a good amount of psychic energy in play or in the discard pile. And Thomas, on the other hand, not a lot of Pokemon in play, and not much of a draw engine in play either if he starts to get Iono'd turn after turn.
Indeed. The Manaphy being down for Austin with the Gardevoir deck too. Tough because that Radiant Greninja just absolutely destroys single price decks, but the Manaphy's Wave Veil preventing any damage from kind of slamming into the bench there.
Yeah.
So Chien-Pao taking the knockout.
Yeah, we see that Hail Blade there from the Chien-Pao, discarding the 2 water energy from that active Chien-Pao EX, KOing that Mirage Step Kirlia, and back over to Austin, promoting that Ralts into the active. And we'll see what he's working with in his hand. Obviously has a good amount of draw power with those Kirlias on board.
So going to go with a Cresselia. I think try to place some damage on the Baxcalibur or the Radiant Greninja.
Looks like Austin didn't have much of a hand there. Just those 2 cards, that Cresselia and the Iono. And benches that Cresselia, goes to play the Iono. And I think the Cresselia is interesting here. There's nothing on Thomas's board that Cresselia can really knock out here. But as soon as more Frigibax, Bidoof come into play, that Cresselia can put in some work on Austin's side of the field.
For those not aware, Cresselia allows you to essentially take damage from your board state placed by Psychic Embrace from the Gardevoir EX, and essentially just move them to your opponent's Pokemon. So sort of using the energy acceleration of the Gardevoir deck to place damage counters on your Pokemon and then move them to an opponent's Pokemon. But only able to do 120, correct?
Correct. Maximum 120 with one water Pokemon already in play on Austin's side of the field that can't be Psychic Embrace 2 from the Gardevoir EX. That caps that Cresselia at 100 for now.
It would be a little bit broken if it was unlimited. It would just be 4 Cresselias and a Psychic Embrace draw engine. Looking through his deck, got some energy in hand. Looks like we got a Battle VIP pass, which is going to be useless at this point, but perfect discard fodder. Going to discard it and draw 2 with that Kirlia draw engine.
Yeah, and what Austin really wants to see this turn, obviously, is to get more energy into that discard pile so that his attackers, Zacian V and the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, can be doing more damage. Ideally, he one-shots this Chien-Pao EX this turn. Since he's already Iono'd, we're not going to see a boss's orders on that Baxcalibur, but that also would have been a very good play on this turn.
For a lot of players going into the Chien-Pao matchup, Chien-Pao able to do unlimited damage, 60 times its water energy, but the Baxcalibur is really the thing that makes it all work. Baxcalibur allowing you to play unlimited energy from water energy from your hand to your water Pokemon. So if you got 6 energy in your hand, you're KOing anything in the format.
Yeah.
But if it's not there, you can't do it.
Absolutely. So we see these refinements coming down from Austin's side of the field, and I'm not quite sure what's in his hand. I see the Greninja, I see some energy, so he may be forced into a situation here where he benches that Radiant Greninja to draw a few more cards, because I'm not quite seeing the Gardevoir EX yet in that hand. And obviously, like, the last ditch attempt that Austin would have here is to Pokestop for potentially an Ultra Ball, but who knows what valuable resources he could be discarding off of that if he's forced into that play.
If you ever have to use it, it's going to be all 3 of the cards that you need the most that aren't item cards. Plenty of energy in the discard pile, though, for Austin. That's exactly what Gardevoir likes to see. Psychic Embrace, the Gardevoir EX ability, allows you to take energy from your discard pile, Psychic Energy, and attach them to your Psychic Pokemon. But he's not finding it yet. Going to send up the Cresselia. I think that might be the Sacrificial Lamb, unless he found the Gardevoir EX.
But must not have the Shining Arcana Gardevoir to take that KO on the Chien-Pao. So I think what we're going to see here is potentially some damage coming down onto, I would have to assume, the Baxcalibur. There's, I guess, an argument to be made to start doing some damage to the Greninja. But no matter what he's doing here, this is not the play that Austin wanted to see this turn.
Could be hoping to get a Super Rod, that Cresselia, which is going to die on Thomas's next turn. Maybe get the Cresselia back and do another attack to one of the bench Pokemon. You got to make do with what you have.
But Thomas buying some time now here. Going to use that Shivery Chill ability to search the deck for 2 water energies. Looks like he just selected 1 here, so it looks like... Oh, nope, he is selecting 2. But you have to think that with 3 on that Greninja and a good amount of it in the discard pile, he's close to not having
the discard pile,
much left in that deck.
At this point, you need a boss's orders, get that Manaphy up, take it out, and then start going to town with that Radiant Greninja. Does play a couple ways to get that Radiant Greninja back into the deck as well. Go find it. Chien-Pao, a little clunky sometimes. It either really fires off at the beginning, or sometimes you get some stall like this. Probably lucky for Thomas right now that Austin is getting a little bit of a slow start as well. So
yeah, I can't quite see what's in Thomas's hand, but if that Chien-Pao had been knocked out this turn, I would have to imagine that there's not much going on Thomas's side of the board. We do see that Bidoof come down as well as a second Frigibax, so that board state being a little bit more developed now. That boss KO on that lone Baxcalibur is not really a play that Austin can go for now next turn.
As long as he's got a Frigibax lined up for Rare Candy Baxcalibur, Thomas is sitting a little bit more pretty with that energy acceleration. But still only 1 Chien-Pao in play. If that goes down, all of his attackers, with the exception of Radiant Greninja, are out of play, and there's that Manaphy that really limits the ability of that Radiant Greninja.
Yeah.
I should point out, for those who aren't quite aware, we keep referencing Moonlight Shuriken, Radiant Greninja's attack. It allows you to do 90 of 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. It can be the active, it can be the benched, but that Wave Veil from the Manaphy on Austin's side preventing that damage from hitting the bench. So you only do kind of half of what Radiant Greninja can do.
See an important Pokestop here from Thomas, and all it nets him is a VIP pass, which is useless after the first turn of the game.
A Baxcalibur and a Bibarel.
And a Bibarel, and the question is, we don't really have a prize cam here tonight, but this deck usually plays 1 to 2 Super Rods. Could there be prized? How has he used any yet? Definitely going to be in a tough position once to get that Bibarel back, and these decks usually only play 2 Baxcalibur now as well.
They do.
That second Baxcalibur down
is gone. Plays 2 Bibarels. one of them in the discard pile. It's not something you're going to prioritize getting back unless you absolutely have to. But there's a Cross Switcher.
Yeah,
Not a card you see used that often.
I think we're going to see this Cross Switcher Canceling Cologne play that we've been talking about. And there's
Perfect.
the Canceling Cologne. Canceling Cologne, turning off both active Pokemon's abilities. And that means that Manaphy's Wave Veil, which is protecting Austin's bench Pokemon, is no longer
Oh, and he's
going to
leave it in the active.
Yep.
Brutal.
KOing both of those Kirlias on Austin's side of the board. And there's only one Pokemon that Austin can respond to this Greninja with now, and that's his Gardevoir EX, which puts it as a prime target for Chien-Pao EX to just come up and take a KO on next
Talk about
turn.
swinging back. Finding the Canceling Cologne, lost the Baxcalibur, lost the Barrel Draw Engine.
And Austin forced into a Pokestop now with most of his draw engine in the discard pile, and unfortunately gets rid of that reversal energy
find
and
a Super
the
Rod,
Zacian
though.
V.
And get back a Ralts or two. It's tough to get those evolved into that Shining Arcana Gardevoir without a Ralts down, opting for Zacian as well. Zacian's kind of like the two-prize version of the Shining Arcana.
Austin shuffling back in two Kirlias and that Zacian V there.
So right now, I think we're going to see two Raltses go down. He will be bench locked, but those Raltses are the base you need to evolve. And then I'm kind of curious what he's going to do. Cannot attach energy to the Manaphy with Psychic Embrace, so he's going to have to manually attach and retreat.
And this is a position where placing that damage where he placed it with that Cresselia last turn is actually hurting Austin. If he'd put it on the Baxcalibur or put it on the Greninja, there might be something he could do with that Cresselia again on this turn to take a KO, but as it stands, the only thing he can KO something with this turn is Zacian V or Gardevoir EX. Neither of those are cards that you want to put in that active spot in the line of fire of that Chien-Pao's Hailblade attack.
That Chien-Pao is looking pretty menacing on the bench there, especially if Thomas has enough energy or can find enough energy in his hand to fire down with that Baxcalibur. Gonna go in with a level ball though, grabbing a Ralts. Oh, excuse me, a Kirlia. So I think we're going to see one or two Raltses go down though.
Must already have the Ralts in hand.
And Worker discarding the Stadium in play, drawing 3 cards. Late addition to the Gardevoir decks. When people started playing counter stadiums, they started playing Worker.
And I think at least one Ralts in Austin's hand. Hopefully for him there's 2 in there, or a way to find another one.
Does have a rare candy. Let's see what he's going to choose here.
The other thing is with that Manaphy in the active spot, he has to have energy as his attachment for turn to retreat out of that Manaphy. Otherwise, it's just stuck in the active spot. He cannot Psychic Embrace to it, and he does have that energy attachment. Going to retreat into that Cresselia, and then that Cresselia, depending on how Austin decides to spread this energy out that he can attach with the Psychic Embrace, is going to be able to do up to 80 damage somewhere. So I think if I was Austin, I'd be going after that that Bidoof on the bench. Only 60 HP. It's what Thomas is going to want to draw with late game as Austin starts to Iono him. And if Austin's lucky, Thomas could be very far ahead.
Opting for the Ridgebacks, though. He may not have noticed that the Baxcalibur went into the discard pile.
Yeah.
The draw engine survives.
And there's an argument to be made, too, here that if Thomas is not able to get another Ridgebacks down, then on the next turn, Austin can boss KO the only Baxcalibur, and then Thomas is out of ways to attack essentially for at least one turn, if not multiple, if Austin can continually target down that energy acceleration engine.
The problem there, though, is if Thomas can find the energy he needs and a way to get that Chien-Pao into the active and boss up that Gardevoir EX, that is tough to recover from. So right now, the game state kind of very in flux, kind of whoever gets what going first. I wish we could see the prize cards.
Yeah. Yeah. The one nice thing about that Worker from Austin is it gets that Pokestop out of play, which is a way that this Chien-Pao deck really likes to draw extra cards. It plays a lot of item cards, so in certain situations, that Pokestop just reads draw 3 cards if you hit items off of it.
Indeed.
But what we saw earlier is it comes with that risk that you hit key pieces that just go to your discard pile instead of going to your hand, like that Baxcalibur, like that Bibarel.
I was just checking his deck list to see how many Canceling Colognes he run. I saw 2, and I says if there's an Irida that comes down, we're going to see a Canceling Cologne, and I think we're going to see 2 Pokemon get sniped to death.
If Thomas has that cross switcher play in hand again. It looks like he's retreating into this Chien-Pao, going to search the deck for water energy. What he needs here now is a superior energy retrieval and double cross switcher, and he's going to be able to snipe those 2 routes that just came down onto Austin's side of the field.
The Manaphy with its
again.
Wave Veil is trying so hard, but
Yeah.
Canceling Clone is just taking it out every single time. See if he can make the play here. Cross Switcher does require 2 of them played at the same time to change your Pokemon and an opponent's Pokemon.
there it is
And there's the
again.
Cross Switcher. Unbelievable.
And you have to imagine that there's really no way for Austin to recover from this. 2 Ralts are probably going to go down
And a superior
here.
energy retrieval, and he gets rid of 2 battle VIP passes. That is the ideal play you can make with those cards. Unbelievable.
And that really comes down to Austin's Curlias being taken off the board last turn. He didn't have the draw power to dig through his deck and find that hand disruption Iono, which would have been huge on that last turn. We can't really see our players' hands here tonight, but Thomas's hand must have been huge after that last
Absolutely
turn.
massive.
And had the cross switchers, has the Irida to find the Canceling Clone, has the
Has a
superior
barrel
energy
to go
retrieval.
get some cards.
Yeah.
Where I was concerned that Thomas was going to be a little bit stuck, and then things just started landing. He can go Pokestop just to see some cards for fun. Gets an 2 Ultra Balls.
Ultra balls.
Get ready to Pokestop. I don't believe that Austin plays another worker. It's usually it's a 2/2 line worker. So he could get rid of that just to slow him down a little bit, but I think we're going to see another 2 prizes taken right now with Radiant Greninja.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that Austin can really do to recover here. Thomas is going to have plenty of energy in play, even if the Baxcalibur is knocked out next turn, that he could take a KO potentially on one of those single prizers on Austin's side of the field.
I think we might see an
And
Ultra Ball
Austin
come down.
at 5 prizes. Thomas is going to be at 1 prize remaining after this this Greninja attack here on those 2 Ralts.
He could just be mean and bust out a Mawile and lock the Greninja in the active to deck him out.
I don't think we're going to see that here, but
Everyone
maybe
should play
in
him
someone
all
else's
while.
list
Someone
tonight.
should play him all while.
Absolutely.
Chien-Pao should absolutely play him all while. All right, gonna see if Frigibax go down, just sort of as a backup insurance on that Baxcalibur. He did Super Rod one of the Baxcaliburs into the deck, doing some polite shuffling of his 10 or less cards left. Well, Canceling Clone has stopped Wave Veil's ability, so Moonlight Shuriken is going to be able to take out the 2 Ralts on the bench of Austin. Strange that this Chien-Pao deck is just slaying single prizers with Moonlight Shuriken over and over again.
I mean, that is the way that this Chien-Pao deck manages to beat Guardy, though. There's no other way, really, for this Chien-Pao deck to beat Guardy in an even game where Gardevoir is going to be attacking your Chien-Pao's 2 prizers with 1 prize. Gardevoir is
2 for
taking
1.
2 for
2
1
for 1. 2 for
all
1.
game. But we see that Thomas, with that Canceling Clone cross switcher, played 2 turns in a row.
How does that
able to
happen?
take 4 prizes with this Greninja this game.
That was absolutely perfect. A lot of luck there, too.
Little bit of luck on one side, not the other. And there's the Iono that Austin wishes he'd seen last turn.
Iono, for those not familiar, shuffle your hand, offer to your opponent to cut to the bottom of your deck, draw as many prize cards as you have remaining.
Unfortunately for Austin, he Iono's Thomas to 1, but Thomas has that Barrel on his bench ready to fill his hand right back up to 5.
For those, again, not in the know, I don't mean to explain too much to the people that know a lot about Pokemon. Barrel's Industrious Incisors allows you to draw up to 5 in your hand. So in the late game where Ionos are really effective, Barrel just says, no, thank you.
No Super Rod off of that Iono for Austin. Obviously, he's needing to Super Rod those Ralts back to get him back onto his bench if he wants to have any hope here.
Thomas counting... Austin counting
Might be in a
the superior
position
end
here where
retrievers.
he has to Pokestop again, hoping to hit Super Rod.
It's manual attaching to the Manaphy is so painful. Choosing to send the big lady into the active, doing 190 damage to Radiant Greninja, taking 40 damage with the Psychic Embrace, and taking a prize card. Oh, they moved the prize cards on. Okay, this makes a lot more sense. We're so used to seeing them upside down that I didn't even notice them. It is tough right now, though, for Austin to come back from this. A 3 prize deficit is pretty tough to overcome when your deck is just single prizers.
Yeah, and all Thomas needs here is an escape rope to knock out one of those 1 prizers on Austin's side of the board, or a superior energy retrieval.
Yep.
That's all he needs to win the game.
It's a good thing you point out on top of that. He does have a Chien-Pao on his bench ready to go. So that escape rope switches everything out, whatever
We see
comes up
Irida
dies.
here. If Thomas hasn't played the escape rope yet, it's there, or it's the superior energy retrieval off that Irida, and obviously that is the game there. Well played by both players. I don't think there was much Austin could do there. Once those canceling clone cross switcher plays were coming down, that's very tough for Gardevoir to deal with.
on the bench. You had a cancel clone in hand, and then you found 2 cross switchers. At that point, do you just know you're off to the races?
Yeah, whenever you can do that at one time, you know you're in a pretty good spot.
And you did it twice.
Whenever you can do it twice, you're pretty golden. Going into that, I owned 2 of the cross switchers to the bottom, so I knew where they were. I knew that I could I knew I had to shuffle the deck first because I need to get those cross switchers. I need to make sure I have a good chance to draw into them. So I used Chien Pao, grabbed the energy, and then you don't want to play Irida until the last play, because if you rip into the rare candy, you can get one of the other pieces, either a cross switcher or a clone. So
put that puzzle piece together,
yeah,
but collect your pieces first.
Yep. See as many cards as you can, and then play the Irida for whatever else you need. And that first turn. My first attacking turn, I was considering doing the cross switcher and just killing the mana fee.
Yeah, but then you get that
really
canceling
tempted,
clone.
But I knew that if there's a super rod, if there's anything for him to recover that mana fee, I'm in a really crappy spot, because
Indeed.
Going for those last 1 or 2 prizes is going to be really difficult. So I decided just to kill I think it was the Shadow Step Kirlia or Mirage Step Kirlia, and with the Chien Pao, and then just try to save those for the following turn, and it ended up working out. So.
With the Chien Pao on the bench, ready to be fired off if he escaped up to you or had bossed you up or something like that. You look like you were set up from the mid game onward, and good job with the Moonlit Shurikens just preventing him from getting those Shining Arcana Gardevoirs in play, from getting those Ralts evolved into Kirlias.
Yep.
Nice job. Best of luck in your next match. Everyone watching, all you legends out there, we will be right back with the next game. Good luck, Tom.
Thanks.
Cheers. Winner of round 1. Now we are back with Oscar, who is playing a Miraidon deck, versus Michael, who is playing a deck. I had to ask Tom what was going on with it. Tom, can you explain the Michael's deck for me?
Yeah, so Oscar on the bottom there, going to be playing the Miraidon deck. We know all about that. We've
Consistency.
seen it a lot of times, but Michael at the top is playing an Entei deck, fully focused around that Entei V with the fleet-footed ability and the Moltres, the fire-type Moltres from Brilliant Stars that does, I believe, 80 or 90 damage for 1 fire energy as long as it has any damage counters on it, which are easy to get on to that Moltres with that Magma Basin Stadium.
I am stoked. Thank you for choosing this matchup. I haven't seen this deck get played in person before. Is running a 1 lineup of Drapion, just in case he runs into a Mew.
Yeah.
Not necessarily this matchup. Quite the order of Magma Basins too, getting that damage onto the Moltres. I'm just over here Googling this Moltres because I am having a hard time putting together how this deck works.
Yeah, so apparently this had done pretty well at a recent online event, and Michael said he just wanted to try it out
Just
here
give
tonight.
it a shot.
Give it a shot. Pretty good consistency. He's got the Squawk ability to give him good turn 1s. He's got the Enteis, obviously have that fleet-footed ability to draw an extra card each turn when that Entei is in the active
We're going to see
spot.
fleet-footed versus fleet-footed. Raikou has it. Entei has it. We're going to be drawing lots of cards really slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
And then obviously has the Radiant Charizard in the late game to do 250 damage. I'm going to just go let these players know that they are good to start. It seems like they didn't get the queue, so we're going to go let them know quickly that they are able to get going here.
You got Oscar's deck, the Miraidon EX base deck. Probably one of the most popular decks in the meta right now just because of its consistency. Miraidon does have a very powerful ability, Tandem Unit. It allows you to go into your deck and get 2 electric Pokemon, basic electric Pokemon. So it's just, if you have the Miraidon in your hand, like Oscar's starting with, you put it down, and then you just go fill up your bench. It is the consistency maker. Starting with a Raikou in the active as well, allowing it to use the fleet-footed ability to draw 1 card. And Oscar's also wondering what he's playing. So one thing about Pokemon is sometimes something just comes so out of left field, you don't know what you're playing against. This might not be great, though, because the Moltres does not have a ton of health.
Did Michael just attach
It was
pass
attached
for
pass,
turn
unfortunately. We might see a turn 1 for Oscar win here if he can just get some of those electric generators going.
Yeah, so Miraidon using this Tandem Unit ability, able to basically fill up your entire board of Pokemon on the first turn of the game as long as you find a way to get a Miraidon out. You can use a Miraidon to get another Miraidon to get more electric
It's just
Pokemon
Miraidons all the way down.
onto your bench and filling it up here on Oscar's side of the board. Now the question will be, can he get, like you said, those electric generators to power up these Pokemon to get that turn 1 attack? And because Michael doesn't have anything benched on his side of the field, and it looks like he might actually have a Bravery Charm on that Moltres, has a little bit of extra HP, so he Oscar might have to get this attack with the Miraidon EX. And that attachment for turn 2, that active Raikou.
Probably just so he can retreat, just thinning out that hand because it looks... Oh, he's going to keep the research. He's going to hold it for next turn. Let Michael fill out his bench. Hopefully we see Michael with something, drawing a research, Iono, just something. Consistently get more Pokemon out, because if he attaches passes again on this turn, it is not going to be good.
Able to bump that path to peak with the Magma Basin, so the question is Michael able to find... And he's got the research.
Got the
in hand.
research.
So, Michael, gonna
Thank
be
you,
able to draw
Professor's
some,
research.
able to draw some cards here.
I thought we were going to see NAIC turn 2 donk again.
Yeah. And it looks like this deck is just very turbo from Michael. It's got trekking shoes. It's got jet energies to move things in and out of the active using that fleet-footed ability multiple times per turn. It's got switch cards, escape ropes, 2 Thornton.
Got a super cool Mew, too.
Yeah.
It's got the nice Mew.
Got the good Mew EX. Now what we're going to have to see here from Michael on this turn is an attachment from that Magma Basin to that Entei V on the bench, and then an attachment for turn would let him use that Entei's attack on this turn. He also could go for that other Moltres here, benching that Moltres, Magma Basin, 1 energy attachment onto that Moltres would allow it to do 90 damage to this active Raikou. And because it has that Bravery Charm on it, I think that's probably a better play than to attack with that Entei V.
Indeed. He might be a little bit short with the Entei, though, to take out the Raikou, though, because he doesn't have a full bench opposing him.
Correct, yeah. So I think the best play for Michael here is to attack with one of those Moltres for 90 if he can, because that Raikou has that Bravery Charm on.
Bravery Charm adding 50 health to any basic Pokemon. It can be attached to rule box Pokemon. Usually the Pokemon Company is a little bit restrictive on adding health to Pokemon. We are seeing the, Luxurious Cape coming down. Gives you 100 health, but hands out an extra prize card.
Yeah, but cannot be attached to rule box Pokemon.
Can you, just in theory here, can you attach 4 of those to Reverum EX and just lose the game when 1 Pokemon dies?
Well, you can't attach it to an EX.
Oh, they thought of that.
Yeah.
Like we were just saying. That'd be cool, though.
That would be cool.
1 700 HP Pokemon. So let's see here. Oscar doing a polite cut. One of the nicest players here at the Forge. Played against him multiple times. Beats me almost every time, unless I'm playing Mill.
Now we're seeing this escape rope from Michael. Gonna retreat, or not retreat, switch out of that Moltres into that Mew EX that has free retreat. And now he can use that Mew EX's restart ability to draw his hand back up to 3 cards. I think we're seeing a Trekking shoes there. I believe that was a jet energy that Michael chose to keep. And the question here is, does he have any fire energy in that discard pile to be able to use that Magma Basin Stadium? That Magma Basin says once during your turn, you may attach a fire energy from your discard pile to one of your bench fire Pokemon. If you do, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon.
Maybe it's all gas, no brakes. I would expect to see a Armor Rouge to accelerate it onto the active, but it looks like Entei is going to have what it takes.
And it looks like
do some
Oscar
damage.
took Michael's bait here. Off of that escape rope, Oscar sent up the Pokemon that has free retreat. But that Pokemon also has not enough HP. And with a full bench on Michael's side of the field and 4 Pokemon on Oscar's side of the field, this Entei V is going to be taking a knockout on this flying Pikachu V.
Oops,
If
I'm so
Oscar
sorry,
had sent
Pikachu.
if Oscar had sent up a Miraidon,
He would have survived.
200 damage.
It's sometimes important to be more familiar with your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
And when you have to read all of their cards,
Yeah.
it's tough to beat them. It
It
really
is.
is.
It's one of the advantages of playing a rogue deck. Everyone has that dream of showing up to a regional, showing up to your local league cup, whatever it is, with a deck no one's seen before, and doing the best of anyone out there. And every game you get into, opponents
there
are
it is.
reading your cards, not quite knowing what your deck is doing. And that's the advantage that Michael has here tonight, taking that KO on that Flying Pikachu V and going up by 2 prizes in this matchup.
Oscar getting that Dynamotor Flaffy going, though. Going to discard some stuff and go get another Pokemon. I am thinking that we are going to see Mew come back, and there it is.
Very important thing to note here that doesn't come into play often, but this Entei V has 230 HP. Now, I'm not sure if Oscar, taking a look at the deck
Does he
list
play the
here, does
Zapdos?
he play the Zapdos? It looks like he
does.
does play the Pokemon Go Zapdos. So
There
and
it
We
is.
do see it coming down. I was going to say, if he didn't play that Zapdos, there would be no way, aside from Raichu V, for Oscar to take that one-hit KO on this active Entei.
For those not familiar, Zapdos does 10. Your electric Pokemon do 10 extra damage. So that Raikou V in the active would normally be doing 220 with its attack, but with the Zapdos on the bench, you're just fixing the math a little bit.
So
That's why you play it.
Oscar just needing an energy attachment here onto this active Raikou V. But we see that research that he held in hand from the last turn.
Smart.
Going to be able to allow him to discard his hand
And plenty
draw
of
7
energy.
cards. Plenty of energy in that hand. I think I see a Super Rod, an Iono.
And a Forest Seal Stone as well. Oscar has the control that I do not. I spend those Forest Seal Stones immediately. Oh, he has no place to attach it. I just realized. He's got the Bravery Charm, so we
Yep.
cannot use it.
But that Fleet-Footed did give him another Bravery Charm, so could put that on to potentially the Mew EX to keep it out of that 220 range.
Yep.
Or to beef up one of those Miraidons.
He's got a chunky Miraidon now on the bench. Going to see him likely use a bit of math as he is a teacher to take out that Entei V and respond. The prize trade has begun. 2 for 2
Yeah.
is now on.
And I think one of the biggest cards that's going to be in this matchup, aside from that Zapdos, allowing to get Oscar to get to 230 with his attacks, is going to be that Radiant Charizard on Michael's side of the field, dealing 250 damage late in the game once Oscar is down to 2 prize cards.
Thinking boss Miraidon death.
Exactly. It's going to be a huge attacker in the late game here for Oscar. The other thing, though, is Michael does play One Lost Vacuum. So if he's able to find it on this turn to get rid of that Bravery Charm on the Raikou V, Michael is going to be able to respond with a KO, a 2-prize KO of his own on this turn. And I think that's going to be the name of the game in this matchup, is who can consistently get those 2-prize KOs turn after turn. It's going to be a race. If any of these players are able to weave in a 1-prize attacker
Totally
to get
throws
a
them
KO,
off.
it's
Totally
going to throw
throws them
off that prize trade. Absolutely.
Oscar, too, also playing the Raichu, which is the big sort of end game finisher. Oh, is he? He is. Not building up the energy on the bench as much as I would like to see, just because that Raichu big damage at the end is not going to necessarily be necessary. Raichu does 60 damage for each electric energy you discard from all your Pokemon. So you have to have 6 energy on your Pokemon to do that 360 damage. But if you don't spend the time building them up, you can't really use it. Not really going to need it, though.
One of the things I want to caveat, too, I think we missed it on our screen here, but that Entei V that Michael attacked with last turn did have 2 damage counters on it from that Magma Basin.
Oh, indeed.
So that Zapdos wasn't actually necessary on Oscar's side of the field, and for the most part in this game might actually never be necessary, because I think Michael's almost always going to have to use that Magma Basin to power up his attacks.
Still a cool card, though.
Very cool card.
Kudos.
But may have been an opportunity there for Oscar to start powering up a Raichu V in the chance that Michael gets Bravery Charm onto one of those Entei Vs.
I see that Jet Energy, when attached to the bench, it is a mandatory. It does have to go into the active. Sometimes you'll see that misplayed, which is interesting because Mew has a free retreat, but We're going to see another research, getting rid of some cards. I think we saw another Entei V go into the discard pile there.
The question will be here, can Michael find that Lost Vacuum, the one of Lost Vacuum that he plays in this deck off of this Professor's Research?
7. I sure wish we could see the prize cards. Going through the discard pile, seeing that he's used his... Oh, we got more Moltres going down. Do you think he's going to try to screw up that prize trade?
We'll see. This fleet-footed here from Michael, allowing him to draw one extra card after that Professor's Research.
Could potentially be going after the Flaffy on the bench with the boss and just sort of throw a wrench into Oscar's prize trade. When we say prize trade, that means if you take 2 and then they take 2, you're still ahead because you're taking the prizes first.
Mm-hmm.
And he did find the energy, going to knock out that Raikou V. And Mew is going to take the active just because it's free retreat.
Did the Raikou have any damage counters on it? I don't think that was a KO with the Bravery Charm.
Did it have a Bravery Charm on it? Did we miss that?
Yeah, let me go check.
Just do a brief pause here. Professor Tom, also a commenter at the same time. Going to go swing by and just confirm something real quick. For those of you who are watching that are Pokemon fans, all of you legends out there that have tuned in, we really appreciate you supporting us here at The Forge. Give us a follow on Twitch. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. Swing by for The Forge if you're a Warhammer, Magic the Gathering, Lorcana, Pokemon, tabletop games. They run bingo on Saturdays. It's awesome. It's a kind of a cool little community spot we've got together here. Confirming that there was...
Well, we're kind of dumb.
Wow.
Those Moltres are not the Moltres we thought they were.
They're
the
not?
Pokemon Go Moltres that is amping up the damage of that Entei to be doing 250
Really?
damage.
We definitely don't know how this deck works now. I love
I
it.
thought it was. I was reading through his deck list. I thought it was the Brilliant
I
Stars
did too.
Moltres, but it is the Pokemon Go Moltres.
This is even better. Tricking the commenters. It's the best thing in the world.
So, for those that don't know, I swear that Michael told me he was playing the Brilliant Stars Moltres. So,
Well, he tricked you, man.
he tricked me, man.
He's beating
So,
2 of us now.
What we know now is that Pokemon Go Moltres' ability says that your basic fire Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage, and with 3 of them on Michael's board, that means his Entei Vs are doing 30 more damage with each of their attacks, meaning that it did 250 damage, and even with the Bravery Charm on that Raikou V, it was enough to take that 2 prize
Wait a
KO.
minute. This is almost a mirror match, but just of different types. Because we got 2 legendary Pokemons, Moltres versus Zapdos, and we've got the Raikous versus the Enteis that have the same ability, that have the same attack.
Absolutely.
This is fantastic.
And
I
both
love
of our
this.
players playing the Mew EX. Lightning versus fire. Who will win? And I have to say, I think that Michael is in a very favored position here. Even if Oscar takes a 2 prize KO on this turn, that means that Radiant Charizard is active, and all that Michael would need is the boss's orders to take a KO on that Raichu
Miraidon.
V, the Miraidon, or the Mew EX on the bench, or all he needs to find is that one Lost Vacuum that he plays in the deck to get rid of that Bravery Charm on the active Miraidon EX.
For those watching, the reason Mew always goes up first is it gives you time to think. It does have a free retreat. It's just sort of like a, here, hold this while I think about it.
Absolutely. And in this deck, it makes a lot of sense because Magma Basin can only attach to a benched Pokemon. And Michael, moving pretty fast here, I have to imagine that he's got the play. And he does
250
because
damage, taking on Oscar.
Well, 280 because of those Moltres.
yeah, I keep forgetting about the Moltres.
So I was still operating under the impression that these were the Brilliant Stars Moltres, but with that ability on those Moltres, allowing that Radiant Charizard to do extra damage, he didn't even have to worry about the Bravery
Legendary
Charm on the
Pokemon.
Miraidon.
Legendary Pokemon. Clean it up. I love it.
And the funny thing is here, one of the advantages that Miraidon has in the current meta is it's just a fast beat stick. You get going, you can attack turn 1.
Super
you have these
consistent.
chunky attackers. You're always doing like 200, 220 damage. When you really need to hit those 300, 310, 330 numbers, you have the Raichu,
Yeah, the
V to
Raichu.
do it with. And somehow Entei comes out of left field
Moltres
and just
Entei.
does what Miraidon wants to do, but better.
The internet, man.
Very cool to see.
Very good.
Well, I'm excited to get Michael in here for a winner's interview. Ask him why he lied to me about the Brilliant Stars Moltres.
Is that an auto game loss? Lying to the commenter?
No, I don't think so, unfortunately. And I have to admit, maybe I just misheard him. So
That is true. We'll be right back with a winner's interview, and then we'll be going on round 3.
all right,
Stick around.
Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. We are here with our winners interview with Michael. Michael, congratulations on your round 2 win.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about your deck. Obviously, it is a pretty rogue deck, kind of out of left field, not something a lot of people are used to seeing.
Yeah, I saw it win like an online tournament the other week.
Yeah.
So I took that deck, and there's like some cards for some tech cards for some other matchups that I didn't think were going to be that popular, like a Canceling Cologne and Echoing Horn, which might have been good, but I was like, maybe I don't really need it. So I put in Drapion and Mew to help like pivot around and get some cards, like if you get Iono'd or whatever. Because that was what I was struggling with before, is like get Iono'd to 1 and then all right, looks like I'm done.
Yeah. Well, nice. I mean, it was very cool to see. We were kind of operating under the impression that you're playing the Brilliant Stars that are Moltres. So for the first half
you
of the
were
match,
just like, what
we were
the
kind of
hell?
like, we were like, oh, he might do 90 with this Moltres. But no, it was the one that's boosting your Entei's attacks, and that allowed you to get over that hump on that Raikou V where it had 250 HP with that Bravery Charm, and having those 3 Moltres on board allows you to just win that 2/2/2 prize trade that you want to go against that Miraidon deck.
Sure, yeah.
Very cool to see. Were you kind of worried, though? We saw that you just attached past turn 1, and Miraidon is known for getting those turn 1 attacks.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, I thought I was done or whatever. And then even doing the Professor, like top decking the Professor, that was huge.
Yeah.
But getting rid of like the Force Seal Stone, I was like, this isn't great either.
Yeah.
You know, so I wasn't, the first 2 turns I wasn't expecting it to go.
Yeah, but a very cool deck nonetheless. Always awesome to see these rogue decks doing well at
thanks.
locals, and we hope you take it all the way tonight.
All right, thanks, Tom.
All right, thanks, Michael.
See you.
Welcome back, Tuesday night Pokemon fans. We are back here with round 3, Hunter versus Jack. We've almost got a mirror match. Lugia V-Star Single Strike versus Lugia V-Star Single Strike.
Yeah, the real only major differences in these lists is Hunter is playing the Stonjourner, and I guess Jack is playing that as well, but Jack is playing the Single Strike Urshifu VMAX as well. So going to be an interesting matchup here. I think the only other really notable things is Jack is only playing 1 Collapse Stadium, Hunter's playing 2, so that really only comes into play when getting rid of Lugias off of your bench. Jack is playing a Penny, so if there's ever a situation where, say, a Tyranitar V is not knocked out by Hunter, we could maybe see that come into play. Jack only plays 2 Iono, Hunter plays 3. Those are some of the interesting differences between these 2 deck lists, but I think we all kind of know how the Lugia mirror goes. It really kind of comes down to who gets that V-Star power
It's a
off
race.
first for double Archeops, and we're off to the races from there.
Speaking of which, Jack already has 2 Archeopses in the discard pile, a Lugia on his bench. That is the ideal first turn.
Absolutely.
The goal of Lugia V is to evolve into Lugia V-Star and then use its V-Star ability, Summoning Star, to place those 2 Archeopses on its bench. Archeops, the entire engine of this deck, allowing you to attach special energy from your deck to your Pokemon. It's insane. It's
Yeah.
so broken.
Yeah, it's one of the most broken abilities I think we've seen ever. Being able to accelerate 4 energy, well, 5 if you count your turn attachment, 5 special energy per turn is just absolutely insane. And obviously, the more special energy end up in the game, the better this card gets. And we see a tough Professor's Research
Yeah,
there
I was
from Hunter.
I was cringing over
Yeah,
here.
getting rid of 2 Single Strike energy and a bunch more things, and I'm not even sure if any of that was an Archeops.
I don't think any of that was an Archeops. That was just I need to see more cards or else. The special energy that's doing the bulk of the work here in this Lugia Single Strike deck is Single Strike energy. Can only be attached to Single Strike Pokemon like the Tyranitar V that we're going to see coming down here probably in a little bit. But it makes that Tyranitar V do 20 extra damage and provides Dark and Fighting type energy. So a little bit restrictive what you can attach it to, but you can attach 4 of them in a turn.
Yeah.
It's insane. 320 damage from the Tyranitar with 4 of them.
Yeah.
It's just bonkers.
We're seeing Hunter, I think, do a little bit of thinning there. Had a Tails on that Capturing Aroma, so went for that Pumpkaboo, which is not going to be really relevant in this matchup. Using it as Ultra Ball fodder. I imagine this Ultra Ball is going to go find an Archeops. I believe Hunter had another Ultra Ball in hand, so
Indeed, going to get rid of one of the
Archeops.
Chopses.
Yeah.
Is holding on to that boss's orders just in case. Is it dumping an Iono at the same time? Who can upgrade to a Lugia V-Star? If he does not get another Pokemon down, though, this might be troublesome.
Yep, so we're going to see this V-Star power from Hunter. That Summoning Star going to be able to take 2
Oh, there are
close
2.
Pokemon.
There you
So
go.
I guess
2
in that
Archeopses.
first research, he did have an Archeops, and that Ultra Ball getting him the second Archeops in that discard pile, allowing him to Summoning Star for 2, and that's exactly what you want to see. Now, the only tough thing here for Hunter is that he's going to be taking a 1 prize KO on the Stonjourner, not really what you want to see. Would rather be taking a KO, obviously, on Jack's only Lugia on the field. But what is kind of troublesome here for Hunter is that it could really skew the prize trade here, where Jack wants to go in and take 2 prizes on this Lugia V-Star on the next turn.
It's just sitting there waiting.
Exactly, and Hunter's really a 1 prize knockout doesn't do a whole lot for him right now.
And if Jack can find that Tyranitar V, get his 2 Chopses on the bench, get the Tyranitar in the active, get those Single Strike on there, even with that V-Guard energy on that Lugia V-Star, it is still a KO, and he's ahead in the prize race.
As long as Jack hasn't prized any of those Single Strike energy, he's going to be able to take that KO on the Lugia V-Star. So we'll see what Jack has in hand. He needs the Lugia V-Star, which I believe he already has in hand. He has an Ultra Ball for the Tyranitar if he wants to, but then the question will be how many Single Strike energy are prized.
He may
and
have
does
to
he have an
attach.
attachment for turn to retreat that Lugia V-Star?
Lugia does have a
as well?
2 energy retreat cost, so it's kind of hard to get out of the active. But if the Chops are going, you can get them, put the energy there, but then you can't get the 4 you need on the Tyranitar V. So it's a bit of a math problem
So
here.
seeing the Summoning Star from Jack,
Does have the energy in hand to retreat.
but it is, I think, his last gift energy. So
Gonna be going down to a thin hand here.
and choosing to discard, I believe that was a single strike Urn of Vitality as well as that gift energy for the Ultra Ball. And that Ultra Ball might be finding us a Luminion here. I'm not sure if Jack had a supporter in hand. And now this could be an interesting play from Jack. Luminion for
There's
boss's
Luminion.
orders. Start whittling down Hunter's Archeops on his bench. The player without Archeops is probably the player who loses. It just depends on how quickly you can get rid of those Archeops on your opponent's side of the field, because
And that
as
is
you
the
start
play.
to work on KOing them, they can still be powering up other attackers that you're not KOing, and by that point, it might not matter that they don't have any Archeops left.
Exactly what you were saying, Tom. Bring up the Archeops. That Lugia V-Star going to be doing 200 damage because of the double turbo attachment. He still has one more primal turbo that he could use on that Archeops. So if he can find something to put on the bench, he could put some energy on it, get it ready going for next turn, but just going to take the KO on the Archeops. It's tough for Hunter. Going out with one Chops only means you get 2 special energy attachment, but does top deck the Luminion, it looks like.
Has Nest Ball as well to find a backup attacker to start powering up with that one Archeops that is left, and it's going to be that Tyranitar. Now, 2 single strike energy were pitched early game off of that research, but it looks like 2 are left in deck, so he will be able to put 2 onto there, but it looks like opting for that gift energy instead, which does make a lot of sense as well.
You think we're going to see a Luminion boss and then a dead Archeops in return?
You know, it could be. I think that Luminion looks a little bit more promising.
Little
though, even
juicy.
on Jack's side of the field. Yeah.
All the cool kids take out the Archeopses first, though.
We see that boss's orders already in hand.
Because
targeting
Luminion?
down that Luminion. Going to take the KO there pretty quickly. Hunter going down to 3 prize cards remaining. Jack still at 5 prize cards remaining. And we'll see what Jack's able to do on this turn. Obviously, probably wants to just find a second boss's orders and KO that Archeops. If he does, that means that Hunter's really not able to do much the rest of the game. The problem is he still just has a Lugia V-Star powered up, and if Jack Ultra Balls for another Luminion, Hunter's just a
Think
boss's
that's about
orders
what we're
away
gonna
from
see.
getting another 2 prizes.
Winging the odd trade, being on odd price cards does make it a bit of an awkward trade, but Archeops does not have that much health, so it is not a... Oh,
Yeah.
we're going to see Professor's Research, just going to see more cards. Right now, though, if that Archeops does go down, Hunter is going to be in manual attachment mode, attempting to power up that Tyranitar V. Sometimes, though, with Lugia V-Star, it can be a little awkward because you can get all the energy you want, but it's actually really hard to find Pokemon in this deck. You play the
Yeah.
Mesa Goza, you play the Nest Ball, you play the Ultra Ball, but like...
It's not hard
sometimes
to
you
find Pokemon, it's hard to find the right Pokemon.
There you go.
You have plenty of ways of finding Pokemon, but it kind of comes down to, did you flip tails when you wanted to find the
Exactly.
basic, or did you flip heads? And we
Looking
see
for
a flip
8
here.
tails. There you go. Go get a basic Pokemon.
Jack's going to be able to go get that Tyranitar V, and we do see that Archeops turn sideways usually denotes that the ability has been used, but on this turn, Jack has not utilized that Archeops' ability, so he still does have both Primal Turbo abilities to work with here, and I would imagine that Jack is going to be going to start powering up a Tyranitar of his own.
Tyranitar, 4 single strike energy, doing 320 damage. Oh, he's opting for single strike Urshifu, which has a massively powerful attack,
Yeah.
but is spendy.
Yeah, so I guess maybe the thinking here is you're going to be 2-shotting this Lugia V-Star, so you get the first little bit of damage onto it with your own Lugia, then you finish it off with the first attack on the Urshifu VMAX, and then use the Urshifu VMAX's second attack to take the 1-shot on the Tyranitar V.
I think that's what Jack is thinking at the same time. You do play against Jack often, right, Tom?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, we usually get paired round 1 or 2
You
of the
do
League Cup.
indeed. All right. Opting to use the Primal Turbo from the Archeops is to put 2 single strike energy on single strike Urshifu V, which it looks like Jack got the Urshifu V Max. So next turn, that is a big, bulky dude on the bench. Gonna grab probably 2 more single strike energy and attach him to it as well. Right now, though, if Hunter could get a little bit lucky with the boss's orders and get that thing up before it can really do its deal, does he have enough? It's 200. How much health does Urshifu V have?
Urshifu V has 220 with that V guard, brings it up to 250 basically, or effectively if it's being attacked by a V. But we see 200 damage coming down onto Hunter's active Lugia V-Star from Jack, and over to Hunter's turn. We'll see what he's able to piece together here. I think that's a Luminion in hand, so we could see a boss's orders
Boss's
again
orders, take out
on
the
that
Urshifu V.
Luminion. Well, on the Luminion, then
On
you just
Luminion.
need to take out something with the Tyranitar, anything. You'll just have one prize remaining. Jack helping us out there, letting us know how many cards he has in this
Thank
hand.
you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate
A
that.
stream pro.
Absolutely.
All right, Hunter thinking a little bit how he's going to finish this prize trade up. 3 prizes remaining, I believe. Going to Primal Turbo into probably some energy going on the Tyranitar V. I think he's going to go for the KO on Lumineon.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what he has in that hand. Obviously, he has 2 single strike energies in the discard pile. If he can find that single strike Urn of Vitality to shuffle those back in, he could potentially get like a research play and hope to find it as an attachment for turn and then KO that Lugia V-Star in the active.
Going back in with Lumineon. Lumineon's ability allowing you to go find a supporter. Playing Collapse
Is that
Stadium,
boss's
though.
orders?
Looks like he shuffled the boss's orders to the front. Kind of going, counting his energy. Lugia also, at the end of the game, you can start running low on energy, and if you do your math wrong, you may show up with 3 energy when you need 4, and the game is over.
Yeah.
Boss's orders. See what he chooses.
Yeah, boss's orders. You got to believe he's going either for an Archeops or the Lumineon there. The Archeops doesn't really matter, though. You just want to take out the Lumineon. Hunter going to be going down to 1 prize card remaining here after KOing this Lumineon, and Jack going to have to respond to something big, and we know it's that Urshifu VMAX, which is waiting in his hand.
That falling behind in the prize trade, we're doing the damage but not taking the 2 prizes, really stacks up in the late game. It's got the Urshifu VMAX in hand.
The only problem for Jack here is no matter what attacker Hunter has, Hunter's just a boss's orders away from winning the game. With only 1 prize card remaining, all he has to do is take out one of those Archeops, and that's not very hard to do
It is
with
not.
the attackers that he has on his board.
Does have a Tyranitar V on the bench waiting in the wings. Does it have enough energy, though?
Not quite. He's going to need 1 more energy to use that single strike crush attack. But Jack here using that Primal Turbo ability, searching his deck for 2 special energies, going to attach them to one of his Pokemon. And depending on what his prizes are looking like, I'm assuming that's going to be 2 more single strike energy coming down onto this Urshifu VMAX.
Now the question is, he needs to get rid of something. He needs to take more prizes, but there's only 2 prizes he can take per turn currently on the board. Gonna rethink the double turbo energy. Gonna place a single strike. I think we're gonna see 330 damage coming down from that Urshifu VMAX.
Well, so the Urshifu VMAX's first attack does 100 damage for 3 energy. With those 3 single strikes on it, it's going to be doing 160. So it's
that's a good
enough
point.
to knock out this Lugia without discarding the energy on it. And then on the following turn, he can do it to knock out that Tyranitar V. But even
And
then,
so much health, it's really hard to take it down.
Yep.
But 1 boss's orders, like you said, 1 Lumineon away from just ordering up a Archeops
Absolutely.
and slaying it.
And one thing to note here is Hunter does have that gift energy on that active Lugia V-Star. So depending on how many cards he has in his hand, he's going to be drawing more cards after this knockout, which just gets him closer to that boss's orders.
The gift energy after the knockout, allowing you to draw up to 7 cards in your hand. A real blessing in Lugia, where you just don't draw a lot of cards sometimes. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Oh, he's opting for the big attack? Did he just slam it?
He just slammed
He
it.
slammed it. All right. Taking out the Lugia V-Star. Tyranitar V moving into the active. You can find a boss's orders. Ooh,
And
Mesa
Mesa
goes.
goes
If this
just a
is
heads
a
away from
heads,
winning.
that is the game. Ooh, it's a
Tails.
tails.
All right, what else does Hunter have in that hand? It looks like he has a Capturing Aroma.
If this is
He's
a
gonna be a
tails,
heads.
it's going to be heads.
It
is a tails. If he's got a Luminion in there, searching, Luminion goes down. See a boss's orders.
Boss's orders.
Here
and
comes
then
an Archeops.
Primal Turbo to power up that single strike crush attack. He's got the Urn of Vitality in that hand already if he needed it, but just has the attachment for turn. Boss's orders on the Archeops.
And a polite fist bump.
And that is game.
All good games end with a polite fist bump.
Absolutely.
Like you were saying, though, Tom, a bit of a race. Whoever can get their Lugia V-Star, Summoning Stars down first is the winner.
Hunter went first, was able to get double Archeops. Turn 2, start attacking, and we were off to the races. I think just being able to, Hunter didn't play another supporter after that
No, I
first
didn't.
research, aside from Boss's Orders. It was
It was
three
a
Boss's
slow.
Orders in
It was
row.
a slow start though.
Yeah, it was Boss's Orders on Luminion, Boss's Orders on Luminion, Boss's Orders on Archeops, and that's the game.
Luminion is the worst fish in the world, but it's also
It
the best
really
supporter
is.
getter in the
It
entire
really
world.
is. It's so annoying. It's like the worst thing about playing Lugia is having to play down those Luminions. Just a free 2 prizes for your opponent.
We did see the collapse stadium, which is the
Yeah.
way to get rid of it, but
One way to get rid of it.
that game
and-
is mostly just dead Luminions anyway. So
Yeah, all right. Well, I want to ask you quickly, John.
Sure.
With Paradox Rift coming out soon, we have a new card, Earthen Vessel.
Okay.
Which allows you to discard a card from your hand and search your deck for 2 basic energies.
It's-
Are you playing water energies in your Lugia so you can Aqua return with Luminion again?
yes, it is the poor man's quick ball because you can get rid of a chops, then you
Yep.
can get your water energy, you can get your Luminion, which does 120 damage,
Yep.
and then you just put that sucker back in the deck.
Yeah. And nobody likes Luminion. Nobody likes having that fish on their board.
The question then becomes, if you're going to play Luminion with water energy with Earthen Vessel, and you get it back into the deck, what cool stadium do you play in place of Collapse Stadium?
I think Collapse Stadium's still good.
Nah, it's something weird like Magma Basin, just to
Well,
screw with them.
you could play Fire Energies, power up your Radiant Charizard.
You could get the Radiant Charizard going.
There you go.
You could get Iron Hands, which I think is a disaster of a card in the
I
making.
think Iron Hands is awesome. I love it. Amp you very much for printing that card.
Very much.
So we will be right back here with a winner's interview with Hunter. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Cheers. Welcome back, Tuesday Night Pokemon fans. I'm here with Hunter, who won that game with a bit of a race. Hunter, early in the game, you had a tough start. We saw you Professor's Research away a lot of resources. Tell us about that into the microphone.
Microphone would be good. Yeah, so knowing it was a Lugia mirror, the most important part is basically who takes the first couple prizes.
Yeah.
So knowing in my hand, I think I know I had 2 single strike energy. Those can be gotten back later. A lot of Lugia Vs. I drew like 3 Lugia Vs in my
Which is a
opening
great way to
hand,
start. You always get the
which-
first one down on the first turn.
Get the Lugia V, which is good. I didn't really need the other 2. I knew for a single strike. So it was just kind of go, go, go.
All gas, no
and
brakes.
hope we get everything we need.
Perfect. So later in the game, I know Lugia can struggle to kind of find some of the Pokemon it needs, but you were starting to accelerate that prize trade. And then we saw a lot of Luminions, and I don't think you played a supporter other than Boss's Orders after the first research.
I don't think I did either.
So
I got
you were-
boss.
It was just Luminion, Luminion, Luminion. So when you see that Luminion getting the boss, what are you looking to hunt down?
Yeah. So I mean, in that situation specifically, I think at that point he had Lugia V-Star down, which I knew at that point I couldn't one-hit KO because I had those 2 single strike that I got rid of earlier.
And you were down in Archeops at that point too.
And I was down on Archeops at that point. That's a good call. So we had that Lumina in bench, so I know I just need to keep up the prize trade.
Yep.
Get going there. Hopefully find something later, which I ended up doing. I wasn't sure.
Another
at that point.
Luminion. It was perfect.
And yeah, just more boss. I just got pretty lucky.
Well, congratulations on your win. We're looking forward to seeing you move up in the standings a little bit. You've also been a very successful player in the local championship point scene, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You got a couple of cool mats. Yeah, good luck in the rest of your mats or rest of your matches. Thanks for talking with us.
Yes, thank you.
Tuesday Night fans, we'll be right back. You have a chance to go get a snack. We'll be back with round 4 in a minute. Cheers. Welcome back Tuesday night, Pokemon fans. We are here for round 4 of the Masters. We got a repeat on the stream here. We got Hunter versus Wyatt. Hunter playing the single strike Lugia, and Wyatt playing Lost Box. You're familiar with Wyatt?
Yeah, Wyatt is our local Lost Box enthusiast. Obviously, been a very good deck in the meta for a long time here, but Wyatt has been one of the most dedicated Lost Box local players, and he just loves this deck. He knows how to pilot it very well. He pilots it very quickly. Some would say too quickly.
The shuffling is absolutely spectacular. Wyatt is known for being quite the shuffler.
Yeah. So, and then Hunter, obviously, very good player as well. Been playing Lugia for a long time. We already saw him play against Jack in that mirror match in round 3. So both these players very well versed in how this matchup goes.
Yep.
Both of them will be playing it well, and I think it'll just come down to who gets that sort of pop off turn. Obviously, Wyatt playing Lost Box, not playing the Kyogre, which I think is a little bit more favored usually into Lugia than just the straight turbo Lost Box. I think the Cragalanches can hit pretty hard on Hunter's side of the field from that Tyranitar V, discarding the top 2 cards of Wyatt's deck. It can hit important things like those Colruses, those Mirage Gates, those Super Rods, that sort of thing. And then with the V-Guard, it's tough because the Dragonite V cannot one-shot that Tyranitar V if it has a V-Guard on it.
So Wyatt is normally playing the Kyogre build. Kyogre allows you to do 250 damage, if structured correctly, to your opponent's bench, which is just devastating. It's the end of the game right there. Hunter, you're mentioning the Cragalanche attack. He's not looking to do massive damage. He's looking to use the Cragalanche attack because it does discard 2 of your opponent's deck. And Wyatt is going to be flying through cards, and sometimes those 2 cards that are discarded, that's what you need. You need the Clara, you need that Super Rod, and if those go into the discard pile, it gets really hard really fast.
Yeah,
Looks like Hunter's going to be going first, though, which is good for him.
And as a Lost Box player, you're also always like keeping in mind what energy you have in deck off those Mirage Gates. If a psychic energy gets discarded that you were planning to Mirage Gate next turn, then you have to find a Super Rod to get it back to then Mirage Gate. It just makes the game a little bit more awkward for you. And now, the one thing that is sort of in Wyatt's favor into this matchup is obviously Hunter has to bring out a Lugia V-Star
Indeed.
to obviously get his deck set up, get those Archeops into play. And that Lugia V-Star is weak to that Raikou V that Wyatt plays. So Wyatt could take a quick early 2 prizes depending on what Hunter starts here. Kind of a scary thing for Lugia. If you start a Lugia V or a Luminion, something like that, if Wyatt gets a really crazy pop-off turn going second, he can use that Raikou V turn 1 if he gets to 7 in the Lost Zone, able to Mirage Gate turn 1.
Ideally, you can get 7 in the Lost Zone on turn 2, and it's bad news for Lugia.
Yeah. So, it will be an interesting matchup. One thing to note, another thing that Lost Box players like to do into this matchup is to Greninja 90-90 to the Archeops and then finish off that damage with 12 damage counters with Sableye.
Ooh,
But
you said it. Sableye, my least favorite Pokemon in the entire meta.
Hunter does play that Radiant Serena, however, that would heal some of that damage, meaning that play is basically invalidated from Wyatt. He can't really go for that play in this matchup because of that Radiant Serena as long as Hunter gets it out.
Seeing in Wyatt's hand, though, he does have that ideal start. It's got the Battle VIP pass. So he's going to be off to the races. You can tell the nervous energy of Wyatt shuffling those cards.
Yeah, these players just getting, waiting for that go-ahead to start this round. I think we're waiting for a few other matches on the floor to get set up before we start this round. But I'm going to go check on that quick for us while we wait for this matchup to get started.
Does look like Wyatt has the Hisuian Heavy Ball in hand as well. Got the fist bump. The match has started. Ooh, Hunter, good start, starting with Lugia V-Star. Oh, looks like Wyatt's actually going first. Looks like the coin flip was in Wyatt's favor.
Yeah, so Wyatt starting that Raikou V. Kind of cool on your first turn. Not what you really want to see as the Lost Box player, but it does mean that Wyatt's threatening that double energy attachment, meaning that he went first. He just attaches an energy this turn. That Lugia V is weak to it and in the active position. All he really needs is an attachment again on turn 2, and he can take
this start.
a 2-prize KO. And like you said, great start from Wyatt here. VIP pass, Nest Ball getting 2 comfies. Greninja
does have energy in hand too.
Plenty of energy in hand.
This could be very bad for Hunter.
This is a very threatening start here from Wyatt. That Lugia could potentially be going down next turn, which means Hunter has to prioritize getting a second Lugia into play, which is just another 2 prizes for Raikou to feed off of. We see that fleet-footed
Pokestop, gonna use it.
Switch cart, energy Drapion.
Not
That's
need the
fine.
Drapion. Don't
Doesn't
need the
need
Drapion.
I think he already had a lightning energy in hand as well, and we see that come down as an attachment for turn onto that Raikou. but
See a switch card. Comfy, allow him to go see more cards.
see Lost Vacuum getting rid of that Pokestop.
Already 2. Hasn't Comfy yet, 2 in the Lost Zone.
Yep.
For those not familiar, the Lost Zone is a place to which cards cannot come back, but that powers up Wyatt's deck. The more in the Lost Zone. And another tough Professor of Research from Hunter to start the game.
And Hunter, knowing that he's going to have to dig for that second Lugia V here. Looks like Luminion, Lugia V-Star, Ultra Ball. No way to get
No Archeops
multiple
in the discard.
Archeops. Yeah.
He could Luminion into Professor Burnett, which is sort of the go-to.
But he has
Next turn.
Yeah, next turn. He does have the Capture Aroma. That's helpful. He doesn't really care whether he hits a heads or tails on this one. Probably he just needs to get that Lugia out, and it is a heads.
Get something.
So going to be able to at least get one Archeops in the discard pile. Has that Ultra Ball in hand, and he's going to have to Ultra Ball for that second Lugia V. I think there's no way around it. I think Hunter just has to go for that. Although doing some math here in my head, that Raikou, if Hunter doesn't bench anything else, that Raikou can do 100 and
That's
20,
20, 40,
240.
60.
So actually, Hunter, as long as Hunter doesn't bench anything else, Wyatt can't actually one-shot that Lugia because of that V-Guard energy. That V-Guard protecting that Lugia will have 10 HP remaining, even if Wyatt fills up his own bench.
The thing I would be wondering, granted we have his list in front of me, is if he plays a choice belt, it is game over. But he doesn't.
Yeah,
But you don't
looking
know
at the
that.
list, no choice belt. So Hunter taking a risk on that, but I think it's a fair risk to take. First of all, Wyatt has to get 2 more bench Pokemon, which isn't always the easiest thing to do since he can't play Battle VIP Pass on turn 2. And most Lost Box decks aren't playing Choice Belt right now, so you can kind of assume that that's going to be the case. But we see a switch cart there into that Comfy, Flower Selecting, getting rid of a Sableye. So you
Good.
have to know, must have been a pretty good card there for Wyatt to get rid of that Sableye.
Probably see a Colress coming down here if he can find one. Can be attaching for turn. We are going to see a big swing here if he can get
Just a
not quite enough. It is doubled though. Lugia weak to lightning. If he could just get 1 or 2 more Pokemon down, wouldn't that be the game?
it would not be the game because of the V-Guard energy.
Oh, there you go.
Just doing 120, 130 damage, I think. So he would be doing 80, 160, minus 30 from the V-Guard. And Hunter evolving to that Lugia V-Star. So big miss there from Wyatt.
Is he going out with 1 chops? Is he going out with 1 Archeops? Oh, he has 2.
He has 2. So I actually have to think that Hunter's in a pretty good position here now. With this double Archeops, Hunter's going to be taking the first 2 prizes of this game, which is not something you want to see as Lost Box. Usually you want to be trading with single prizers until you're bringing out your 2 prizers to take big 2 prize KOs. And here Wyatt just missed on that turn.
Got an Ultra Ball in on Archeops. Going to go probably get himself a Minion.
Oh, it's going to be a Tyranitar V.
Tyranitar,
Start
yeah.
building that up so we can do the discarding of Craigalanche.
V-Guard onto that Tyranitar, not something Wyatt wants to see. That means that Tyranitar is out of range of being KO'd by the Dragonite
By
V.
1 damage counter.
Yep. We see Gift Energy and Double Turbo Energy coming down onto that Lugia, meaning I think that Hunter had actually discarded the rest of his hand to find that Tyranitar V, but as soon as Wyatt knocks out this Lugia V-Star, that Gift Energy going to fill that hand back up to 7.
So Lugia V-Star going to be doing 200 damage because of the double turbo energy damage reduction, but it doesn't matter because Raikou has 200 health.
Yep.
And he will see 2 prize cards too. Kind of a bonus.
Pretty-
What you want to see.
Pretty good for Hunter. Pretty good for Hunter, and obviously that second Primal Turbo putting, I believe it was 2 single strike energies onto that Tyranitar V.
With 2 in hand as well. And the knockout. Going to take his 2 prize cards. Coneface Promoter for Wyatt. Going to do a draw for turn. Going to see 2 cards. Oh, Wyatt, I wish you'd slow down so we could see what that was. Oh, they're going to play
Looks-
Colress.
Nah, I think
Switch
that's a
card.
switch cart. He's still digging for those Colruses. Still has not found them. I think that was Escape Rope Cramorant potentially off that second Flower Selecting. And it's, I don't know what else is in his hand, but getting rid of that Escape Rope, benching the Cramorant. Does he have a way to at least attack with the Cramorant? I don't even know what Wyatt does here. Even if he attacks with the Cramorant, he's still not getting the KO
He's
on
not.
that Lugia V-Star.
He's just going to get some damage out there, so maybe Sableye can clean up a little bit later with this math. Challenge is he's down 1 Sableye, so finding one will be interesting.
Yeah. What he really needs to find is a Colress. He has not played a Colress's experiment yet in this game, and You just gotta wonder, where are they? Sometimes you're digging for that Colress.
Sometimes
and
you just shuffle around them.
he's just not showing up to work.
All right.
See escape rope here. Cramorant going to be doing 110 damage to that Tyranitar V.
Actually, a point that I learned too. Cramorant's attack is not affected by weakness or resistance.
Yeah.
Because then you can't just one-shot stuff weak to water. I think Pokemon probably tested that.
Yeah, it was one of the things like early on when Lost Box was really good. Sablezard was a very popular variant of the deck, and you couldn't one-shot your opponent's Radiant Charizard with your Cramorant.
Yep.
Even though it was water, which was unfortunate.
Indeed. All right, gonna Primal Turbo, some more energy onto the Tyranitar V.
So I believe
How many does he
with
have on
that
there?
Primal Turbo,
Is there 3 on there?
there's a V-Guard and 2 single strike. He's going to need 1 more single strike energy on there to get the one shot with the Craigalanche on this Cramorant.
And discard 2
I
cards.
believe he has it in his hand as
Oof.
well, to be able to do that.
Another Castring Aroma. Couldn't see what that was because of his name. But right now, Wyatt needs to find a Colress's Experiment to start building up both cards in the Lost Zone to bring on Mirage Gate. He is too short of Mirage Gate being active, and to get that Sableye in play to start fixing the math. I might see Hunter there go for that Radiant Serena. Yep, he does put it down to sort of undo some of the damage. Radiant Serena, every turn you can heal 30 damage from all of your Pokemon. It's kind of broken.
Yeah.
It does fix that math, though. Attaching the single strike from hand, we'll see a KO on that Cramorant.
Craigalanche normally doing 60 damage, but with those 3 single strike
One.
energies on it,
Ooh,
it's doing
Super Rod.
120.
Oh, that was
Gets rid
the
of
Colress
first
he
Colress.
needed. Wyatt, I am so sorry.
The first Colress we see in this matchup is discarded off of the
God.
Craigalanche, and we see Flower Selecting. I
Gets
believe he
another
finally
one.
found the Colress, and
You can tell he is fast grabbing. No place to put that Forest Seal Stone.
I believe the Dragonite.
he's got the Dragonite.
Hand. He can't get rid of that Dragonite. It's, I mean, after that spitting innocently, the Dragonite does KO this Tyranitar. But does he have the Mirage Gates? He has the Force Seal Stone, I guess, to find Mirage Gate. But Wyatt's
he's
still just
got-
in a tough position, being down 3 prizes here.
The Dragonite does take out the Tyranitar V. It does not take out the Lugia V-Star.
Well, the Lugia does have damage on it.
Oh, it does.
So from that initial Raikou, so this Dragonite could take the KO on Tyranitar, then potentially take another KO on the Lugia V-Star without itself being knocked out, unless Hunter is able to find a single strike urn plus another Tyranitar.
Gonna
A
see
lot to ask, probably.
Gonna see the Mirage Gates. He did set aside some energy there. Gonna go grab the water and the lightning. Does he have a water in hand? Palpad put a friend, that Chorus that he discarded back in the deck. Gonna give her a shovel.
One of the things you have to think too is Hunter sort of kicking himself for sending up that Tyranitar off of that escape rope to be hit into with Cramorant. I think potentially a better play there is to just, it's not intuitive always to say, here, take an Archeops.
Yeah.
But in that situation, you put those damage counters on that Tyranitar where ideally you don't let this Dragonite one-shot your Tyranitar because it just really swings the matchup when Wyatt's able to do this here. 2 damage counters coming down to each of Wyatt's bench Pokemon from that Dragon Gale attack.
Not able to do a return KO here, too.
And
So that's
no
when the
return
prize
KO.
trade really starts
Exactly.
to swing in Wyatt's favor. Lost box, man.
Yeah.
Lost box. We thought he was down, and here we are. 7 in the Lost Zone. Dragonite not going to be KO'd this turn.
The interesting thing is I don't know exactly what's in Hunter's hand. If he has a boss's orders, he could still take a prize on this turn. Hunter, is still in a pretty good position. He's up by a prize. Wyatt has 4 prizes remaining. Hunter has 3 prizes remaining. So if Hunter could maybe get a boss play off this turn and then take care of the Dragonite later.
Maybe start
with
using the
a second
Archeopsis to
Tyranitar.
actually attack.
Yeah.
Which is rare, but sounds like it's raining here at the
Yeah, I was
store.
gonna say, we both took a pause there. I think it's pouring outside right now. We
You got
hear
your windows
rain
up, Tom, in your
falling on the
car?
ceiling. It's not summer anymore. I put the hood down on my convertible.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just so everyone is aware, Tom is quite bougie. He is wearing
No.
jeans with a sports coat. All right. Wyatt going through Hunter's discard pile, counting that single strike energy to see how much he is down on those resources. But Urn of Vitality allows you to put 2 of them back in the deck. So if you get an Urn of Vitality, congratulations. That Tyranitar is back online. Going to play Luminion. Probably going for a boss's orders. Oh, excuse me.
Iona.
Going to
Yeah.
disrupt Wyatt's hand.
Now I think that Hunter actually does have the KO now on this Dragonite with that Tyranitar and the Urn of Vitality. He's going to have enough single strike energy back in that deck to power up that Tyranitar V and take this KO with the single strike crush attack on the Tyranitar V.
Wyatt, I also believe, is down 2 Super Rods, so he's going to have a hard time getting that Dragonite back into the deck unless his Clara makes an appearance. Does he play a Clara?
I am not sure. I was just checking Hunter's list. He does not have any V-Guard energies left, so won't be able to V-Guard that Tyranitar. So, like you were saying, if Wyatt's able to find those Super Rods to get the Dragonite back, take the KO, that would certainly spell disaster for Hunter here.
And there's no, as Wyatt with his Dragonite attack does have to do damage to his bench, but in a Lugia matchup, that's not too terrible for you because Lugia does not have any bench snipe abilities that I'm
Yeah.
aware of.
Well, it does have the Mew EX, but the single strike version doesn't normally play that. So
It would be cool to see Lugia single strike with Mew
Yeah.
copy Radiant Greninja.
take out those two.
We're not gonna
countries.
see that, though.
I don't think we're gonna see that. So off that Iona, looking at what Wyatt might have drawn, I can't quite see that hand.
Got a chorus. Gonna grab 5 cards. One of those is an easy choice. Obviously, let's put those battle VIP passes in the Lost Zone.
Tough position here now for Hunter, having had to swing into that Dragonite with the Lugia, but what that does mean is he can, instead of using single strike crush to KO that Dragonite, he can Craigalanche to further try to disrupt Wyatt's deck, discard important resources. But like we were just talking about, no V-Guards left means that that Tyranitar is in range of KO from the Dragonite if Wyatt can find the Super Rod to do it.
Well, he does play one boss's orders.
Disastrous Pokestop there from Wyatt,
Colress.
discarding a Colress, a Comfy, and a Psychic Energy.
Oh,
And that's sort of the gamble you take when you hit that Pokestop. Sometimes you're just itching to slam it down, and you just get nothing off of it.
It discards absolutely everything you need. Getting that Raikou ready to go, though. Raikou would be able to take out the Lugia V-Star if it was still alive, but it is not. Gift Energy kicking in, though, drawing up to 7 in his hand. Lugia V-Star, Collapse Stadium. Could promote something, put something down, and then Collapse Stadium away that Luminion liability on the bench.
Yeah,
We're
and
going to see a
definitely-
Chops attack.
Yeah, so interesting here from Hunter. Obviously, he needs to swing this prize trade. So he has 3 prize cards remaining. Wyatt now only has 2. So Hunter doesn't really want to attack with the 2 prizer here. If he's going to attack with anything, it's going to be the Tyranitar. And obviously, the only thing that Wyatt has to respond to that with is the Dragonite. So Wyatt would have to find quite a few pieces to power that Dragonite back up. But
The
we
liability.
do notice that liability of the Luminion.
Yes. If Luminion can get Collapse Stadium away, which Hunter does appear to have in his hand, that's going to help him dramatically. Putting up a single prizer that could take out this Dragonite V, and then if Wyatt can't get it back, it's just kind of like picking away at that last single prize. Maybe the Archeops could be used.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see this Archeops being used, a Gift Energy and a Double Turbo Energy being attached to it. Archeops, not only good for powering up, but good for attacking sometimes
Why did he
too.
not put down that Lugia V and get rid of that Luminion?
I think the Lugia V is just the same liability as the
Oh, because he does have the
really.
Raikou on the bench,
Yeah.
so that is death.
So Hunter needed to find the Stonejourner or the Pumpkaboo or just some one prizer to bench there to get rid of that Luminion, and just didn't really have it, I don't think.
Archeops doing enough damage, though, to take out that Dragonite. Dragonite, a dragon Pokemon. It's right there in the name. No weaknesses, no resistances, so it's kind of hard to figure out that math sometimes.
I think Hunter might have misplayed there. We saw him try to go in for a nest ball. I think he meant to play that nest ball before the collapsed.
Ooh. Can't play a nest ball is restricted by your bench, so if you don't have room on your bench, you can't play a nest ball.
Yeah. So unfortunate there for Hunter, leaving that Luminion in play. Now the question is, Wyatt only plays one boss's orders. He's already played his Pal Pad, so if it's in the discard, I don't think we saw it discarded off of Pokestop. The question really is, does Wyatt have that boss's orders or access to it? Could be in the prizes. We don't know. And
We're working on it.
yeah,
Gonna
so
take the KO on the Dragonite.
we'll have to see. We see that Dragonite go down. Hunter going to 1 prize card remaining. And Wyatt here is going to have to get that boss's orders KO on that Luminion if he wants to win this
Gonna
game.
concealed cards, grabbing another Psychic Energy and something else. So he's
Nest
got
Ball,
to... that was the mini Manaphy, thinning that deck
thinning
out.
that deck out. He's really going for it here. He's already used his V-Star power, though, so not going to be able to use that. I don't see... I think he might be down like 2 Mirage Gates.
This
But
is going to be
Wyatt
tough.
moving this fast usually means that he thinks he either has it already or is close to having it. I think the
Yeah,
choice there was
Sableye,
energy
both
or
of them are
Sableye.
gone.
Yeah, both of them gone. Sableye not really doing anything for Wyatt in this matchup anymore. Really needs to attack with this Raikou V.
If he can get the Raikou up, get the Raikou to survive, he can maybe take his final prizes. Does Wyatt have 3 left to take?
Just 2.
Just 2. All right. So a boss on the Minion with a Raikou would do it.
And I think Wyatt's kind of counting the cards left in deck because I think he just didn't find the pieces he needed off of that concealed cards and the comfy. He knew how thin his deck was. He knew what he was looking for in there. It was probably Mirage Gate or in Boss's Orders or a switch in Boss's Orders, and just didn't quite find that combination of cards. Again, I can't totally see what all is in his hand right now, but it looks like he may have whiffed those pieces he needed to get this attack off.
Essentially, everything left in his deck needs to be exactly what he needs, and he has to find a way to find them.
Yeah,
So,
and without using Colress.
correct.
Lots of energy in the discard pile. Maybe all of the energy in the discard
I
pile.
don't think there's enough energy left in his deck for Mirage Gate to help him. And if he drew it in the wrong order, if he drew an energy and then a Mirage Gate, that would
Yeah.
also not help him.
So
So maybe that Super Rod that was discarded from the Cragalanche was the game decider, but we didn't know that several turns ago.
and we're seeing a Colress here from Wyatt, picking up the rest of that deck, deciding what to send to the Lost Zone here. So that means that Wyatt obviously has a Super Rod or something in hand to fill that deck back up so that he just doesn't lose by deck out next turn. But given that Wyatt has used Colress this turn, he can't use Boss's Orders, which means that as long as Hunter has energy left in deck to attack with or a single strike Urn of Vitality to shuffle single strike energy back into the deck, I think Hunter just wins on his next turn.
Does Hunter have a spare Boss's Orders too he could draw into? He does. He's got 3 of them. So if Hunter were to find a way to get rid of that stadium with a Mesa Goza and find a Luminion, that is the game. If he draws into a Boss's Orders,
Well, I think Hunter only has 1 prize remaining.
oh, he does. Well, he could just boss up the other comfy for fun, I
Yeah.
guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, hey, why not?
All right. Wyatt potentially decking himself out with that Super Rod, checking his opponent's resources.
Yeah,
At
all
this
those
point,
single
though,
strike energy in the discard. I think really the question is, does Hunter have that Urn of Vitality?
Wyatt not knowing how much energy that Hunter plays. Hunter 4 single strike, 3 gift, 3 double turbo, and 2 V-Guard, and 1 jet. Gonna put some energy back in the deck. Gonna go into the Raikou. Does he have Mirage Gate in hand? Gonna see an attach return. Gonna see a Mirage Gate.
And shuffling those energies, which are all that's left in his deck.
It's important to make sure you don't deck out.
Now,
Wyatt,
one thing to know, I don't know how many cards Hunter has in his hand, but gift energy is on that Archeops. So Wyatt potentially enabling that Urn of Vitality play off of that gift energy.
trying one.
Hunter already had too many cards in hand for that gift energy to do anything for him.
Does have a nest ball.
Has
Can
a
bump the
Mesa
stadium. Can Mesa Goza 4. Cannot Mesa Goza. That was a tails. We're just, Tom and I are both like
He's
peeking
got
up here to see
Luminion in
this
hand
guy.
already, so Luminion's probably got to find him a research. He needs to find that Urn of Vitality, and it looks like he only has 1 Urn of Vitality left in deck.
Is it possible for him to retreat to that Tyranitar into the Archeops? No, he does not have enough Archeops to do what he needs to do.
No, he has to attack. He has to take the final KO with this Tyranitar this turn, and he has to do it by finding Urn of Vitality. He's got a single strike energy in deck, it looked like. 1 Urn of Vitality. He needs to get 3 single strike energies. I believe that's all the energy he really has left. He needs to get it all on this turn to take this single strike crush KO on that Raikou.
Does he have another turn, though? That Raikou's doing 220.
Yeah, that's true. It just depends on if Wyatt has that boss, and I think Wyatt's got to have the boss in hand now.
Can he just get off a Cragalanche and discard the rest of Wyatt's deck? Does he need 2 single strike for that?
I think Wyatt might have 3 cards. in
3
deck.
cards in deck,
Yeah.
just out of range of the Cragalanche deck out. Gonna research,
And does
trying to find that Urn of Vitality. If he finds it, whoop, not allowed to do that.
I think Hunter had not shuffled yet, but we'll see what happens here.
Indeed, I do believe that picking up your deck like that and seeing an extra card may be a 2 prize penalty.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. I think
They may actually be waiting for you to show up, Tom.
I'm not the judge. The judge, they're gonna have to call a judge on that one.
I think we're having a discussion here between Hunter and Wyatt about what the significance of Professor's research and then picking up and looking at the bottom card of your deck.
It is mildly significant.
It is. It will just determine the game. Sounds like Wyatt and Hunter having a conversation with our awesome organizer and judge, Ryan.
I'm just gonna go check on what's going down in there,
By all
and I'll be
means.
right back to report.
For those of you who haven't quite pieced it together yet, Hunter is the winner from the last game we just did an interview with. A very skilled player. He won the League Challenge here last month and got a pretty cool puzzle. I was very jealous of his Mew puzzle. Right, though, Tom checking on the status of the game in the room next door. Kind of the way that we're organized here. We've got the stream room here looking at a screen, and then they're playing in the room next to us, isolated from everyone so people can't be stream sniping, for lack of a better description. Thank you to all the viewers who stuck around, all three of you heroes, in the last couple rounds of the League Challenge today. I did have some technical difficulties getting things set up here. We'll be improving next week and into the following weeks too as we sort of get back on our feet here in the Forge with the new setup. Got a resolution right now.
All right, we do not have a resolution. Actually, we're going to be right back. We're going to review that stream play to see if Hunter had shuffled his deck yet after using the Luminion and the Nest Ball. If not, seeing that bottom card is not an issue. He just needs to shuffle his deck and play the research
All right.
as is. If he had already shuffled, then it probably is going to be a 2-prize penalty for picking up that deck and looking at the bottom card.
And is that the game?
We will be right back.
Cheers.
All right, we are back. We reviewed the footage there. The question was, had Hunter shuffled after using the Luminion to find the Professor's research?
The answer
If
was
he-
yes.
Yeah, if he had not, then him picking up the deck doesn't give him any information. What he needs to do is shuffle the deck before drawing the 7 cards off of the Professor's research. But we did review. Hunter shuffled, Wyatt cut the deck, and then
He
Hunter
did.
played the research and picked up his deck.
The rules are pretty straightforward. If you see a card when you're not supposed to, it is minimum a true price penalty. The shuffle randomized the data.
It could be a warning in certain situations. It really depends on what it is. It depends on the sort of event. It depends on how many prior warnings you might have. But in that situation, our judge determined that Hunter's digging for a specific card, right? And what
Yep.
he did was he looked at his deck, saw the bottom card before he drew the 7 cards off for research, and it's
an information
not-
advantage.
Yeah, it's just something you can't do. You could argue, well, he wasn't going to even get to that bottom card. Lugia can't draw extra cards. If he just draws 7, we let the game play out as is.
Yeah, we've
It's
all
just,
done it though.
You know, it's just one of those things where you just got to play cleanly. And
Sometimes
it's
you draw an
unfortunate
extra
to
card.
get into that position where Hunter probably wins that game. Like
That's
he probably was going to research into that, earn a vitality. Who knows? And so it's unfortunate to go down that way. But that's just the name of the game. You got to play cleanly, and when you don't, you can get penalized for it. And sometimes those penalties seem harsh, but really in the end, it's up to you to keep a clean board state.
They are generally applied evenly. So we'll be right back with an interview with our surprise winner, Wyatt. And we'll be back for the final round 5 after that. Stay Welcome back, Tuesday night, Pokemon fans. We're here with the surprise winner of the game, Wyatt. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What were you thinking going into 3 cards left in deck? They're all energy. You're out options.
I thought he was going to Craglanche me for game.
I did too. Did you have 3 cards left or 2?
I had 2.
Oh, you did. You had 2. I thought it was going to be a
And
Craig match for game.
He had the single strike energy in deck, so I'm not sure, but it happens.
All right.
You don't always see the lines of play, and it happens to everyone.
I will give you credit, Wyatt. You are one of the best players at not getting tunnel vision on some of these games. You put that Dragonite out and you started just reeling him back in. We were really impressed. When you got that Dragonite KO'd, though, what were you thinking at that point?
I was like, he discarded 3 single strike energy, and he already had 1 earn in deck, so I was like, he probably won't be able to Tyranitar me again.
Okay.
So I just went with Dragonite, led with Dragonite, and it worked.
It worked. And you got a little bit lucky at the end. We say playing clean is a great way to win games, and you won that game because of it. So
Yep.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you on track to win the event tonight?
4-0.
Congratulations. I hope you win it tonight. Get your 15 points. Thanks to the 3 heroes who are currently watching us on YouTube. Stick around. We'll be back for the final round 5. And again, Wyatt, congratulations. Good luck
Thank
next
you.
round. Tuesday night Pokemon fans, all the one hero who is still sticking with us. We have the last game of the night. We got Wyatt, who just accidentally won a game, versus Max, who is playing Snorlax Stall. I hope everybody's tucked into bed because this is going to be a sleepy game.
Yeah, this is going to be a long one. Wyatt has 4 switching outs, and let's hope he does not waste those. Obviously, if you don't know, that Snorlax in Max's active position is that Blocklax from Pokemon Go, which has the ability that says your opponent's Pokemon cannot retreat. So essentially what Max is trying to do is trap his opponent's Pokemon active with something that isn't going to knock out his Snorlax, and then to use supporters like Penny to pick that Snorlax back up when it has damage counters on it, heal those off, put another Snorlax back down. Max also has
So many supporters.
the Misfortune Sisters, which is going to be really pivotal in this matchup against Lost Box to discard those switching cards from Wyatt's deck. So
Inside.
Misfortune Sisters, Max gets to look at the top 5 cards of Wyatt's deck and discard any item cards he finds there. The insult to injury on that card is that Wyatt doesn't even get to look at those
It's
cards.
a bummer.
Yeah.
It's a great card, though.
Max just gets to look at them and then put them back, and Wyatt doesn't get to see. But
Max is effectively playing Mill, Stall. He does not play any energy in his deck, though. He will never attack.
yeah,
He just sits there.
yep, absolutely. So it'll be really interesting to see how this matchup goes. Really, it's just all about Max trying to keep Wyatt from taking KOs, healing damage off the board when it's there, and disrupting Wyatt's board state until Wyatt has no more cards left in deck.
Already using one of the switching cards. Looking through his prize cards. He's got 3 Snorlaxes in his prize cards. That was 3 Snorlaxes in his prize cards.
Yeah, I mean,
What?
thank God he had that heavy ball. So Max plays 7 Pokemon in this deck: 4 Snorlax, a Mimikyu, a Rotom V, and a Pidgeot V.
Pidgeot just to prevent himself from decking out.
And very lucky there to have that heavy ball to find one of those.
Does he play
missing
more than one
Snorlax.
heavy ball? Does anyone play more than one heavy ball?
He does not play more than one heavy ball.
That is unlucky for Max because
but
he has no way to access those.
He does play a Silene. Silene can, you flip 2 coins, and for each heads, you can put a card from your discard pile back on top of your deck. But the heavy ball went into the prize card, so that's not going to help.
That's not going to
But honestly, in this matchup, Max does have ways to recover Pokemon. He's got a Super Rod, so he will be able to shuffle any Snorlaxes that get knocked out back into the deck.
The Avery is well going to be knocking Wyatt's bench down and allowing him to draw more cards at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's really just very tough for Wyatt in this matchup because you do rely a lot on, and we see the Erica's Invitation coming down, essentially revealing Wyatt's hand, finds a basic Pokemon there, and benches that basic Pokemon and switches it into the active spot, which is terrible for Wyatt because that Manaphy doesn't have the flower selecting ability.
It does nothing.
Now, Wyatt getting rid of Drapion and Raikou V off of that Colress. Interesting decision there. I think Raikou V is actually a very efficient attacker in this matchup.
For 2 energy,
Yeah.
you're doing a lot of damage.
Yeah. So,
But at the same time,
Probably
Max
not
is just
one I
going to
would-
bring up something else.
yeah, not one I would necessarily choose to get rid of, though. It is that attacker that's hopefully always doing enough to KO those Snorlaxes. You don't really want to be attacking over and over with Dragonite because then you're doing damage to your bench.
Indeed.
Cramorant doesn't quite do enough damage to the Snorlaxes, nor does Sableye. And then Radiant Greninja can snipe a little bit, but can't snipe infinitely because you're always having to discard those energies off of it.
And the whole time that Wyatt is trying to do this, Max is going to be pulling things up just to prevent him from attacking again. So you'll see things get pulled up that can't do many attacks. And then
Yeah.
you may power them up, and then Max brings something else up.
Exactly. Like the comfy, like the nice thing about Lost Box is technically every Pokemon you have in the deck can attack. The problem is they're not doing enough damage. So
Take out a
Manaphy can
Snorlax.
attack and it can Rain Splash for 20, or Comfy can whatever it's
Flower yell at you.
whatever it does is for 30, but it just isn't quite enough to get there. And So you have to start attacking with those V Pokemon, but then Max plays something like the Mimikyu to block damage from V Pokemon. and-
It's just hanging out.
exactly. So
Also, Max has the big advantage here of Wyatt is probably not going to play any hand disruption cards because he doesn't
Yep.
play any hand disruption cards.
Exactly.
So Max is going to, as the game progresses, have every single option at his disposal.
and the other way that players like to get out of that Snorlax lock is the Snorlax's ability is only active if the Snorlax is in the active spot. You can boss's orders around the Snorlax to then be able to retreat something, but Wyatt only plays one boss's orders.
Indeed. Looks like he's going to go for the Dragonite and try to take some big KOs. It would be interesting if he puts enough damage on his own board to prevent him from using the Dragonite again. So
Yeah, I think it would definitely be a mistake on Wyatt's side to
well, here's
well,
a
rip Pokestop that often, but also to be attacking with the Dragonite.
well, actually, here's a thought: Dragonite in the active, KO all your Pokemon. There's nothing else to boss up. Just attack, 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 attack.
That's true. Max does play the Echoing Horn though.
Oh, that's a good
Plays
point.
the Erica, so if Wyatt has any Pokemon in his hand, the Erica can come down, bring those up into the active. So even that isn't necessarily like the strategy you need to go with. However, the other thing is if you actually give Max those prizes, he's finding his Snorlax.
This is
again.
true. He finds yet another Snorlax. Right now, Wyatt not aware that Max has all of the Snorlaxes he has available to him unless Wyatt takes his own prizes or hands him a prize. Deck getting surprisingly thin for Wyatt, though. It's nice watching Max, an extremely skilled player, actually co-hosted a couple times with you and with
Yeah.
me. He did win Fort Wayne in 2023.
Fort Wayne regional champion.
Choosing to play a very slow deck, very relaxing deck.
Well, you know, I've never found playing control to be relaxing.
Really?
Personally.
All right.
No. But I think the block lax is definitely a little bit less of like a mental heavy deck than control decks of the
You
past.
just kind of hang out and
Yeah, and one of the things I know, the reason Max is piloting this deck right now is not necessarily because he thinks it's so good in this format, even though it has seen some success in this format. I think we recently saw it get top 32 at the Sacramento Regionals.
it was Toronto.
Toronto Regionals. But Max is, I know from talking to him, is very excited for this deck in the upcoming Paradox Rift format because Countercatcher
Yep.
is such a good card for the deck. It saves so much room. You don't have to play cross switchers and bosses, and you're just playing Countercatchers.
Countercatcher is a reprint of a card that if you're down on prizes, it's essentially a boss's orders, but an item card.
Yeah.
You can play 4 Countercatchers in a turn. I
Yep.
don't know why you do that, but it'd be
But
cool.
you can.
But you certainly can.
So we see that knockout from Wyatt on the Snorlax, and what Wyatt may not know is that every Snorlax he takes out makes Max sweat pretty
Sweat a
hard.
little bit.
Yeah, he needs to find that one of Super Rod that he placed in the deck to get those Snorlaxes back. I'm
Gonna
trying
rip
to
the
look
Popes
through the
out?
list to see if there's anything else. He obviously has the Silene to recover cards as well, so he could recover that Super Rod over and over.
Gotta play a Pokecatcher, trying to bring something else up, trap it in the active. And is going to fail the Pokecatcher. Thinking about what to do next, because if this Snorlax stays in the active, it is going to be the end of this Snorlax. He does have to find a way to get...
Got a Nest Ball. Probably going to go find that Mimikyu.
everyone's favorite Pokemon. Does he
And-
play a Switch?
He. Let's see.
He
Yes,
does play two
Switch
Switch cards. So Mimikyu's ability, not able to be
And obviously, he plays
attacked.
3 Penny as well, so he could just pick up that
Scoop her
Snorlax
up.
with Penny. But Arvin going to find that Bravery Charm. Obviously, Bravery Charm not doing enough to protect that Snorlax from the Dragonite, but enough to protect that Mimikyu from, let's say, a Greninja.
He's going to cross switcher into something.
Yeah, I gotta assume it's gonna be the Manaphy because that's the thing that does the least for Wyatt. Although maybe Max kind of wants Wyatt to flower selecting more, so maybe you bring up a Comfy to just be like, come on, dig through your deck for me.
Max is going to bring up the Manaphy and then send up his Mimikyu with a little bit of extra health. Mimikyu, my favorite Pokemon, because it's just such a weird abilities on the thing.
One of the things that we should note there is Max did use the Echoing Horn to bring a Comfy back on to Wyatt's bench. So the only attacker Wyatt now has in this game is that Dragonite. He can't use Cramorant to KO this Mimikyu, and he can't KO the Mimikyu with the Greninja because of the Bravery Charm now. He could technically use the Lost Vacuum to get rid of that Bravery Charm, so then he could KO with the Greninja, but the Greninja's just not a great attacker into this matchup.
He's going to need a lot of pieces, though, to make that work. He needs a switch card to go into the Greninja. He needs a Mirage Gate to get the energy on it, and that costs cards going into the Lost Zone.
Yeah, absolutely. So that cross switcher into this Mimikyu is a very good play for Max. If Wyatt
Can still retreat, though, I suppose, with the Snorlax on the active.
yes, he can retreat, but he doesn't have any attackers to attack this Mimikyu with. The only thing he can use is that Greninja, or do 30 with a Comfey, or do 20 with Manaphy. And it looks like he's going to the Dragonite, and just he has the Shred attack on Dragonite. But Max playing 3 Penny in the list, so Mimikyu can take 2 Shreds, I think, and then get pennied, and
then here we
lots
are.
of things
Hello,
for,
Snorlax.
Lots of things for Max to do. I think really what this game is going to come down to is Max prizing all of those Snorlaxes, and we'll see what Max is able to do on this turn. I think he probably wants to start like getting some Misfortune Sisters going. We haven't seen a lot of those come down, but start to get rid of some of Wyatt's switching cards. Honestly, I think this is probably one of Max's toughest matchups just because they play so many switch cards.
There's a lot of versatility.
Well, we forgot that Max played Peonia.
Oh, okay. So if you grab the correct 3 cards from his prizes, Peonia allows you to see 3 of your prize cards.
That's why I didn't see he played the Peonia, because it was in the Pokemon section. Because there are so many trainers on Max's deck list that he had to go past the trainer section to write them all
Did
down.
he get lucky, though, and grab the 3 cards that he needed
I
to
don't-
find one of the Snorlaxes?
I think that he would have to be super unlucky because he could hit. He has 2 Snorlaxes and a Heavy Ball.
Hey, man.
If he
That's
missed all
Pokemon.
of those off that Peonia, that would be rough.
There, finds himself 2 Snorlaxes from the prizes.
And the
Wyatt-
Heavy Ball going to go get the third one. So Max, pretty lucky there to hit the Peonia, and we probably should have seen that he was already playing that card. Assume that Control is playing that card. That's obviously just a support of that most Control decks are going to play, because they play so many important cards that prizing any one-ofs or anything, you need to get those out of the
That
prize
is the
cards.
heaviest, sleepiest bench I've ever seen.
It definitely is.
All right, with all the Snorlaxes on the bench, Rotom going to go look for some tool cards. Or excuse me, that's going to use the ability Instant
Yeah.
Charge to end his turn. Sort of a draw supporter.
Yeah, I was watching some of Max's games earlier after some of our stream games ended before the round time, and Max's hand looked like a deck. He just had like
It
35
indeed it
cards
is.
in his hand.
You get that Pidgeot. You leave a space on your deck for the Pidgeot V to go
Yep.
down and constantly recycle itself back into the deck. That way you're not decking yourselves out.
Yeah, the cool thing is this deck has multiple ways to have that loop where it doesn't deck itself out. It has the Pidgeot V to do that. You have Silene. Silene can shuffle back Palpad, then Palpad gets you back Silene. You have Team Yell's Cheer, which shuffles back, I believe, 3 supporter cards, and then you can shuffle back Silene, get Palpad back Team Yell's Cheer. Like, there's just so many ways to make sure that you don't deck out.
So
Personally,
what's not relaxing about that, Tom?
I felt stressed out talking about it.
Max calmly playing the cards into his hand, the stack growing, his options getting more and more. Wyatt starting to slow down on his drawing of cards.
If you watch Max play this deck, though, you can just look at his eyes. He's like a monster playing this deck.
He
It's
is a
just
monster
everything
playing
he's
this deck.
ever wanted.
Extremely skilled player. We mentioned
Yeah.
he won Fort Wayne. Listening to him kind of go through the way the decks work, the way he discusses decks, is very similar to the way you do it too, Tom, where you guys see multiple turns ahead. So a very, very smart player. I think Team Yell Cheer is going to go Arvin. I see an Arvin going for a tool and an item.
Yeah, Arvin, obviously, 4 Bravery Charms in the deck, always finding those important pieces. And then the Super Rod can get back these Snorlaxes or this Mimikyu as soon as it goes down. And obviously, we know that Wyatt's not playing any hand disruption. And usually, if a Lost Zone deck was playing hand disruption, it's a Roxanne, which is never going to activate against this control deck because the control deck's not going to be taking any prize cards.
In the chat there, Cod McGraw, I literally stare into his face whenever we play. Good for you.
Well, Max does have beautiful eyes.
He does indeed. And a great beard.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see him on the... Unfortunately, we're going to run out of time, so we can't see Max's beautiful face on the winner's interview if he does win. Wyatt going to bring up Comfey. Going to Flower Select. Going to get rid of a Lost Vacuum. The deck is looking pretty thin for Wyatt, and I think he still has to take 4 prize cards.
Yes, he's knocked out no, he still needs to take 5, I think.
5
he's
prize
only
cards.
knocked out 1 Snorlax.
Kind of see that Bravery Charm, and then that will be the end of Mimikyu. Bravery
Yes.
Charm adding 50 health, but Lost Vacuum taking it out.
So now
Wyatt-
Wyatt goes down to 4 prize cards remaining, and then after he uses Dragonite to KO this Snorlax, he'll go down to 3 prize cards remaining.
2 prizes in 1 turn is pretty good against the Snorlax stall
Pretty
deck.
good. Pretty good.
All right.
And we
Snorlax
haven't
wins.
seen those Misfortune Sisters really come down from Max yet, and those are the cards that are really important in this matchup.
Gonna try to pull something else up. A heads. It is a heads. Bring up the Manaphy.
There it is. Bring it
At
back
this
up.
point, I think we've seen 3 switch cards from Wyatt at this point, so his options to get the Manaphy out of the active are getting tougher as the day
Yep.
goes by. Super Rod putting some Snorlaxes back in the deck. I think we might see a Nest Ball or 2 coming down.
Cody saying Wyatt playing too many cards. That is, you would be amazed at how many times he's ripped a Pokestop in this matchup.
I will say Pokestop is tempting, even if you know you have no item cards left in your deck. Well, maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
I would love to be able to be in that room right now, count through Wyatt's discard pile, see how many switch cards he has
Oh,
left.
here we go.
Oh my gosh, he has 5 cards remaining? 6 cards remaining left in deck, and
Oh, that was a
Max-
Misfortune Sisters.
the
Oh
Misfortune
no.
Sisters getting rid of an escape rope, I believe, and a nest ball. That
5
means
or 6 cards
3
left.
cards left in Wyatt's deck, or
There's
yeah.
like 5 or 6 left.
yeah, there's
Not
very few,
much.
not enough, not enough. Cody saying he needs to KO his own bench with Dragonite so he can Roxanne Max.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, I do not believe he's playing Roxanne.
Wyatt has previously also Roxanne himself mill. So
Yeah, Wyatt is not playing Roxanne, so that is not going to be a possible play here.
I do believe that Boss orders the Rotom up.
Okay, so that means Wyatt only has 1 prize card left to take after he KOs this Rotom. So Max is definitely going to have to get another... Max is going to have to get another Pokemon Catcher Heads or a Boss's Orders.
He has a massive hand. It wouldn't surprise me if he already had that.
Has Wyatt just played the boss, right?
Indeed.
Has he played Palpad yet? Do we see Palpad in that discard pile? What I'm thinking here is that Max can send up that Mimikyu safely.
Showing us all 4 switches are done. The escape rope is done.
Was that 3 of
there was a
each?
pal pad that we just went by.
Palpad was in there? Okay, so Max can safely send up this Mimikyu, I think.
Opting to send up the
The
Snorlax.
question was, I
instead.
think there were only 3 escape rope in that discard pile, unless you can correct me.
He does have a Pokemon catcher in hand. I think he needs a heads on this to stall him out a little bit more, because whatever goes into the active is staying in the active.
Yeah, I think Max, if we counted correctly, I think Max was calculating that Wyatt's only switch card left was Rope, which is why Max sent up that Snorlax, so that when Wyatt ropes, Max sends up the Mimikyu.
And Dragonite cannot hurt Mimikyu.
Dragonite can shred Mimikyu, but that's
Oh, good
about
point.
it. And I think that Wyatt's probably out of Lost Vacuums as well to get rid of the Bravery Charm on the Mimikyu. We see Palpad coming, or Pokegear coming down, finding Penny. I believe Iono as well as Boss. I don't think Max is going to be wanting to play Iono in this matchup. So we see that Penny come down.
Wyatt with only 3 cards left in deck. So if he can just stall for 1 or 2 more turns, maybe find a Misfortune Sisters to get rid of any remaining item cards there. But yeah, this has been an exciting matchup of
Watching Snorlax sit in the active spot until it gets knocked out. I think what Max is potentially digging for here is trying to find a Misfortune Sisters. It's probably what he wants to play on this turn. Although he already kind of saw the rest of Wyatt's deck.
Indeed.
So,
there may be 1 item left in there based on the Misfortune Sisters only discarding 1 or 2 cards.
exactly. And if it could be that last switching card, I mean, that would just be the game.
There are 4 switching cards already in his discard pile.
Yeah, so he has 1 escape rope left. I
All
think.
right.
Yeah. Again,
go
depending
hunt
on what's
down
prized,
that
and there's
escape
the
rope.
Misfortune
There it
Sisters.
is.
And I think that's what Max is digging for, just making sure that any item cards that Wyatt has left in deck are gone. The only item cards that Wyatt has left is whatever's in his hand, and I really don't know how big Wyatt's hand is, but it's probably bigger than Max's deck.
Misfortune Sisters, we're
Seeing
going to
the
see.
rest of the deck.
Get rid of that nest ball.
That means that the escape rope is either in the prizes or in Wyatt's hand. Again, if we counted correctly, I think we did. I think, like you said, 4 switch cart down, 3 escape rope, and we pass over to Wyatt's turn.
He doesn't have any way to get it out of the active.
We might see a rain splash here.
Awesome.
Manaphy can KO a Snorlax if it rain splashes 8
Yeah.
times.
Tom, I love where your head's at. Let's do it.
The other question is just like, how many super rods is Wyatt down? Wyatt's got to be down several super rods as well, so he can't even
Can't build up the deck
rebuild that
anymore.
Deck. Yeah.
He does not play a Clara like he used to with the Kyogre build he's so familiar with. And even if he is able to somehow get that thing out of the active, Max does have a boss's orders in hand, so we can just bring up that Manaphy again.
Just trying to see that lost zone again. Max looking through.
There's at least 2 ropes that appeared there.
There goes the escape rope from Wyatt. That's the last escape rope. And
So he could retreat to the Comfey into the Dragonite. But then that Shred wouldn't do enough damage.
conceal cards, just digging through the rest of his deck, I guess. Why not?
Gonna retreat into the Dragonite. If he has an escape rope, he could put some energy back
We
into
know
the deck.
Max has the boss's orders.
There's the escape rope.
Yeah. We know Max has the boss's orders in hand already to bring that Manaphy back up. So Dragonite's going to shred this Mimikyu. Max is going to boss's orders up the Manaphy, and that should probably be game from there.
It should. Well, Wyatt is never out. In the last game, we thought he was out, and then a mistake led to his victory.
That's true.
He's a lucky kid. Maybe he'll find something special here.
Although Max would have to find a switch into the Snorlax. I'm not sure if Max has those switch carts in hand.
What doesn't Max have in hand right now?
Could be switch cart.
There
He
it
talked us
is, the switch cart.
There it is. That's what he needed. Now we're going to see switch cart into the Snorlax. Boss's orders up that Manaphy. And I believe Wyatt is going to be stuck there, rain splashing for the rest of the game.
Oh, jeez. Rain Slash. He only needs 8 of them. Wyatt's deck looking a little thin. Unable to remove that Manaphy from the active. He's out of escape ropes. He's out of switch carts. Cannot retreat. We are going to see a Rain Splash for 20 damage. I love it.
He is able to get a Cramorant into play, but again, that Manaphy is just stuck there the rest of the game.
Put a Braviary Charm there. Just put a nail in the coffin.
Sydney can discard, I believe, special energy stadiums and tool cards.
And going to pass. Allow Wyatt to deck himself out. I'm going to see another Rain Splash. And
With
another
extra
draw
energy.
with extra energy. And a pass. Attach. 60 damage. The Bravery Charm keeping that Snorlax from being Rain Splashed to death. And the victor of the Snorlax deck stalling out Wyatt again.
Yeah, so I had told Max earlier in the night that there was no shot I was streaming a Blocklax game.
How
unless he
exciting
made it-
was that?
Unless he made it to the finals, and of course he makes it to the finals with that Snorlax control deck, able to take down one of the tougher matchups for that deck. Some of our commenters may have thought that Wyatt could have played that a little bit better, and I think it is fair to say that you just want to take it slow against control when you're playing against it. You don't want to dig through your deck.
You have the
You're-
time.
You're
You have the
helping
time.
them. You have the time. You know they're not going to be taking KOs. I think I probably would have liked to see Wyatt maybe attacking with the Raikou or being able to have both the Raikou and the Dragonite. I don't know. There was...
At the same time, the skill of Max means that the more
Yeah.
cards he has in his hand, the more options he's going to
Yeah.
come up with. He'll Echoing Horn stuff back on your
Yep.
bench. He will, Erica will invite them to be onto the bench, and then he will just bring that Manaphy right back from your discard pile or your hand back up to the active, which we
Yeah.
saw so many times. I love Rain Splash. Not as effective as it needs to be.
Not quite there, but well played by both players. Fun to see a talented player like Max bring sort of a rogue-ish,
Yeah.
little-known deck in
fun
this
deck.
format. A fun deck in this format. Well, fun is
For who?
relative, potentially. But obviously, I think that Blocklex deck does get a lot better into this Paradox Rift format with that counter catcher, and I bet we'll see Max at a lot of locals.
Yeah,
in the Paradox
it's
Rift
doing really
format.
well. It got him a bunch of points tonight.
Yeah.
He's obviously in the points with that deck, so I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that. Maybe you could play that when you're in Brazil.
We'll see.
That'll be fun. On that note, thank you everyone, all one of you who's still watching. We appreciate you hanging out with us tonight to watch the League Challenge here at the Forge. Give us a follow on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube. Tom, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thanks for hanging out with me, John.
Cheers.
Always a
We will
pleasure.
See you next Tuesday, everybody.
Cheers.